The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at netsn.live.
And good evening, everyone. We're back for another week of bEast from the East. We're going to talk the first ever schedule release show here on NETSN. Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. NETSN, Brett Swinney. Tonight with us, he's back for his third week in a row. I think this might be a record for consecutive bEast from the East episodes for Mr. Jaron Peoples. Welcome back.
Good to be back. Things haven't got too crazy this fall, so it's been good to be on the last few weeks.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. Glad you. Are we going to hear from Perrin Jeeples tonight, or is the snack put away?
I'm owning it. You know, it's ready. We're the proof's in the pudding. We're about to. It's almost week one. We're going to see what we got. See how wrong or right I am.
All right, and his first appearance on the bEast from the East, going to be part of the show this season. Jeremy Diamond. Jeremy, welcome to the show, sir.
Man, thanks for having me. Excited to jump on this show, and then excited for the next 11, 12, 15 weeks, whatever we get to do, right, as far as they'll let us go, for what football season is going to look like. It's going to be a ton of fun and a fast and furious ride.
And then back after an absence last week. Missed you last week, Brandon. A big game, Brandon is back.
Well, I wasn't scheduled last week, so I was told the big show, not the small show. So
that's okay. We just wanted to let you miss you last week. Glad you're back this week. I know you're going to be bouncing around to a lot of games, so hopefully maybe we'll cross paths on our schedule this season. Hopefully,
yeah, I've got my schedule already set up for the most part. Mine's a little flexible for for non-legacy games. It could change throughout the season.
You got that flex. Was it the flex week where you get 4 or 5 weeks in the season it starts flexing?
Yeah. I have a few. So like I have the game right now going the season what I'd be going to, but it may change. But when we come to week 9, 10, 11, so
Uh-oh. Y'all know what this means. Someone's invading.
Uh-oh.
He's invading the East Texas show.
He's coming early.
It's our friendly
There he
visit
is.
from the professor, Professor Diggs. Welcome, sir.
I got to watch his favorite East Texas team on Friday night. So
Oh.
And I always like to have a theme when I come in, and we got the bEast side shirt, which is actually a Plano East branded shirt. But bEast from the East. East is always a relative thing, is what we will probably talk about at some point. What does East mean? Whether it's Plano East or
Oh my
East
God.
Texas, there's all kinds of East in this world, and we will break it down in our schedule release show.
Always fun to have you on, Professor. And before we get started, got some things to talk about before we start going down through our schedule. Things that we've had going on. Don't forget, if you want to check out our poll shows, the last 2 weeks we've had our poll shows, and they're still up there. Lots of great viewership on our shows this year. So thank you for tuning in and watching. And make sure you share with everyone about those shows. And guys, Jaron he's survived. He has survived his poll release, and he is still here with us. So that's a good thing. Jaron, I just want to check on you this week. We last week you were okay. You're still doing okay there, right?
Oh, good. I mean, again, it's like I said before we went on air. We're about to see how wrong or right we are, especially preseason polls. They are what they are. And so
I want Professor's take on this, because you're an unbiased person here from the DFW. Did you see where Jaron ranked Chapel Hill in our poll?
I've seen the controversy, and I think there are levels to this. I think Jaron is closer to being correct than y'all are. I think Chapel Hill is going to take a step back this year. I don't know if it's going to be as big of a step as Jaron thinks, but at the same time, you can't replace that kind of talent, and that kind of talent didn't really perform at the level that they expected of themselves. So it makes me wonder. There's a lot of cultural issues to this, and like I got blasted fairly last year by Longview by thinking they would take a step back. They showed why they're Longview, and they continued forward. Can Chapel Hill do that without a banner class? I haven't really seen that traditionally over the last decade, so this is their chance. Are they that way because they built a program, or are they that way because they had a special class? So I think Jaron being skeptical is a fair thing, and we're going to see.
Okay, I like it. I like the comfort. It's one of those things. Look at Jaron. He was worried. He was concerned, Professor. He thought that you were going to go Coach Hubbard on him.
Yeah.
So also we got some things coming up. If you have not seen, we'll have our normal show. We'll start next week. We'll start our pick'em contest, and those are always fun. If you haven't done our pick'em contest in the past, we'll have 10 games each week. We try to pick the best matchups that we see in East Texas and pick those games, and it's always fun. Professor, you going to try to get in every week this time? I know last year you kind of didn't join in with us. I don't know. You just couldn't make it every week. So are you going to see you kind of creep up the leaderboard this year?
I pick all the games every week, so you just might have to go grab my games if I don't make your hard cutoff deadline like a teacher over here who says no.
When the game starts, when the game starts, you can't pick once the game starts.
My picks are in, but I just sometimes don't always get to the NETSN app, which is I should be doing. It should be pinned or something to get it in there. But the picks are in. Are in.
Well, last year, I don't know if it's changed, but last year, it would lock when the Thursday 6 o'clock game kicked off and wouldn't let you change any of the others. So,
I don't know if it's locks. I'll have to check on that. I can't remember if it locks when the first. So you couldn't vote. You couldn't pick Fridays. I think it lets you pick the other ones. I feel like that.
Last year, and then if you do your picks on Sunday and then something crazy happens on Monday, you can't go back and fix it.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't have that problem because I do my picks way before everybody else, and they're public. See, here on the show, and so I make my picks as we go right here live on the show every
right.
Tuesday.
But even say, we'll give a hypothetical. Say Jones High is playing, and you pick them on Sunday, but then on Tuesday at practice, their quarterback, running back, and entire defense and entire offensive line get injured,
Wow.
you're going to change that pick.
Well, I mean, that's fair enough, but I don't know that kind of catastrophic is going to happen. Yeah, but it's a good example.
I mean, something like that happened, not that catastrophic, but something similar that happened almost every week last year. And so then you couldn't go change your picks. And then, but then also on Thursday, you like one week there was like 8 of the games were on Thursday. I mean, one game was on Thursday and 9 were on Friday, but you didn't pick that Thursday game, then you couldn't pick Friday's games.
Okay. Well, I will check with that. I know a guy that might be able to look into that and see if we can have the picks lock on game start. That's a good suggestion. That's a good suggestion.
And you should be able to edit. You should be able to edit before kickoff too.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see if we can get that. I think there's right now it's probably a set time, but we can see if we can.
We watch Vegas movement. And
yeah. Yeah.
Brandon sounds like that guy at the voter poll that clicks back and forth a few times until the countdown's at 0, and he's like, "All right, fine." You know, he's doing a little eeny meeny over there.
Brandon's the guy that didn't go to the voter poll. We're sports people only here, so.
Okay,
so sports people, he's not only dirt sheet Brandon, he is in the know. So if a quarterback gets hurt on Wednesday afternoon at practice, Brandon's going to know about it. He needs to be able to change things. He needs to also text me and give me that intel, by the way. So.
I got you.
Share alike.
All right, so first off, our teams with full coverage this season. Excitingly, last year we had only 2 teams that we covered full time. This year, well, actually 3 if you count the Center Rough Riders, our friends down south, the Shires and those guys. But we'll have 5 teams, including Center, this year. We'll have again the Brook Hill Guard out of Bullard, a private school there. Coach Hubbard will be on the call there. He'll be joining our show when he can this season. We got the White House Wildcats. Everybody had a great time last night at the Meet the Cats. We got to meet a bunch of people. Gave out some cards, gave us some freebies out. So we're excited to do White House Wildcat football this season. Also, a team that we covered a little bit last year, the Carlisle Indians. We'll have them all season. Coach Baker returns to Carlisle, hoping to improve on a team that was really close to winning, 7 or 8 games last year. They lost a lot of close ones. And so I think they'll be ready to play after the scrimmage we saw. They look pretty sharp. And then we've got the Big Sandy Wildcats, another team that we covered a few times last season. We'll have those teams full time along with the Center Rough Riders. And guys, I know those are about 5 teams. Are any of those teams that you guys stick out that clearly could see a nice little run this season?
I'll be honest. I wasn't really sure what to expect from Carlisle. Looking at their record last year, you weren't really sure. I mean, I know you said they lost a lot of tight games, but we were there for the scrimmage at Harleton, and man, Harleton had a really hard time moving the ball. I think they, really in the scrimmage, the varsity portion, I think they broke a couple of tackles and had maybe 3 big plays, but out of the 40-something plays we watched, there might have been 3 that really went in the favor of Harleton, and almost every other play, it seemed like Carlisle was living in the backfield. And so I think that's going to be an interesting team to watch. I don't know where that ends up for them in the long run, but I think as far as competitively and, man, watching a staff just get fired up for their kids, I was really impressed with just the culture that you could see there that's being built already with those guys and how they fought for each other. And so I was impressed to see that Friday night.
I didn't get to see Carlisle last year, but I got to watch them a lot in the years that Coach Baker was there. And I saw the style, his kids always played really hard. They always had some dudes, and they kind of ran that district for many years. And then he left, and it kind of dropped off for a little bit those couple of years. But he's back, and they have a lot back. And they won they went 1-9 last year. But so you don't know, but he's back, and they got pieces. They only lost 3 lettermen. They got 21 lettermen back. They got 9 starters back on offense, 8 back on defense. They've got, and these are guys he worked with, and they were freshmen the last time he was there. He worked with them in middle school. I don't think it's going to be long for him to, when he was there, they won a lot. I think it's going to pick up pretty quickly. I don't think they're going to win, 12 games this year, but I could see them, 7-3, 8-2, get in the playoffs, and who knows what happens. But Carlisle is going to be a factor. They're in a really good district, and Mildred was really good last year. Frankston solid. Cayuga, Kearns. So it's going to be a battle to even get in the playoffs. So, but I think Coach Baker's going to have them in that mix, and then it's not going to be long before they're in that state conversation in about 3 or 4 years again. So.
A team I'm going to keep an eye on, Brett, this year is Big Sandy. I think Big Sandy is poised to take a step up. Because the top of the district, I don't think they're going to compete with Wascom, but I think there is with Union Grove and Hawkins an ability to leap them, especially bringing back as much as they did. I always keep an eye out there. My parents retired out in Hawkins, so I always keep an eye on that district. And Big Sandy is a team that is traditionally a little bit better than they've been the past couple of years. So returning, having a young class, I think they're poised to take a step up, make the playoffs, and you want to avoid that number 4 spot, because if you have to play Honeygrove in the first round of the playoffs, you don't want that.
Yeah, Diggs, I'm with you, and we talked a lot about it last week in our small school preview show. But that district is just a loaded district, and we talked last week, Wascom and Beckville, we feel like they've got the top end of that district, but after that, it's wide open, and so. As you mentioned, you want to avoid that number 4 spot, but there's a lot of questions with Elysian Fields, with new coach, Coach Maines, and what he's going to do. They've got one of the better athletes in East Texas, and Nunu Kennedy, and then Hawkins. They started off strong last year, kind of waned as the season went on, but so Big Sandy is a team. I'm excited for us to cover them. I'll get to do several of their games, and I'm excited to see what Coach Pullum and the crew does, because they brought some guys back too. They lost some, but they also are bringing back some key pieces, and so I'm excited to see them in a really good district.
Yeah, I think we've got some solid teams. I don't think any of these teams, are expected to just blow the doors off. Something I want to mention too is I got to watch, going back and watching some of the scrimmages. Jaron, you were there. I got to see Brook Hill and Rusk, and man, Brook Hill's offensive line. I don't know anybody with that in that size range. As far as another private school, but they've got some big boys up front, and they're going to do some damage. And I think they'll be able to run the ball, and also it'll give young Ryle a chance to get back and throw it. He can sling it. He's got good touch, and he can throw it deep. And so I'm excited to see what Brook Hill does this year. I know Austin Regents is kind of the perennial power there in their district, but they played them tough last year, and losing a lot of seniors off that team. I mean, I was kind of, you never know with having the boarding students and who's going to come in and all that. And it's going to be key for them early to kind of get some of that the glue pieces together, get those guys gelling together. And so, but I expect Brook Hill could surprise some folks. They need to probably try to avoid. Last year, they kind of messed around and put themselves in a bad spot and had to play Fort Worth All Saints in round 1. So you don't want to do that. You want to avoid that 4th spot. But if they can get the 2 or 3 seed, I think they can win a playoff game this year. So we'll see how Coach Ryle and the team does. But I'm excited for them and seeing them take a step forward this year.
Yeah, Brett, I did. I'm glad you brought them up. Got to see them in the scrimmage, and they got a couple of guys from some boarding students from Canada. One of them, 4-star offensive lineman, who just released his top 12, and it's got schools like Alabama, Oregon, UT on there. Sidney Rollo, he is a big boy, and I'm telling you, he's a football player. You can just, especially on the offensive line, you see guys that they just have a knack. He was fun to watch in that scrimmage, and they also played him on the defensive line some too. He hadn't really got to do that much where he came from, and so we got to see him on both sides of the ball, and he is going to be a treat to watch for the Brook Hill Guard this year.
And then, of course, we haven't talked about yet, but the White House Wildcats. Brandon, what do you think about White House this year? I know they're in that district with Marshall and Texas High. We kind of mentioned that they're kind of the top. I mean, what kind of ceiling do you think they have there for the Wildcats?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I didn't see their scrimmage the other night. They were at Carthage, and then Carthage kind of did the preseason. They didn't play their starters. They sat most of their guys, but I didn't hear much about what White House did that night, and I haven't seen them
Hey, Brandon, I know where you can see them this Thursday night.
Yeah,
you could catch that scrimmage on NETSN. Just so you know.
They have a lot of unknowns. talking to Coach Westerberg, he likes his talent. This is just young and unproven talent because, they don't have a lot coming back. And then like guys they were expecting to come back moved elsewhere. So there's a lot of unknowns there, but I think the pieces are in place. It may take a little bit, and they don't, that they have a pretty easy one week one, but then after.
Oh, watch out! You just threw shade at the DF Dub.
Well, I mean, it got bad last year. This is a bad team. I saw. I mean, I don't know. They may be better this year, but last year, it was not pretty, and so but who knows? But after that, it gets really tough heading into district, and then you're in a district where there's some really good teams at the top. I still expect White House to be a playoff team, though, but we'll see as the season goes if they got. I mean, they're talking about they want to get past that first round because that first round they always meet one of those powerhouse teams. They either meet Lovejoy or Melissa, or they always play someone from up there. And I think now they're with a different district. I think they're like I can't remember how it smashed up. I know that's what it was 2 years ago. I can't remember what it was last year, but now I think they're with like the Huntsville, Port Neches, Groves district.
They are.
So which is another good district. So no matter what, they're gonna have a tough first round matchup. But I think they got the pieces to get to the playoffs, and then we'll see. They're kind of my wait and see team because I always expect White House to be good, but there's just a lot of unknowns this year.
Yeah, and I would say outside of week one, I mean, they've got a pretty good. I mean, we'll probably I know we're going to talk through the week, but they've got a pretty tough. I mean, even though it doesn't officially count, like that non-conference isn't a walk in the park, right? They've got that team that Jaron ranked pretty low. They're running into a team up north in Paris. I mean, they're not cakewalking early, and I think sometimes that's a good thing. But sometimes when you have a young team, it can go either way, right? Like it can be demoralizing a little bit for a young team to struggle early, and it can also be like, hey guys, we're a reset here. But they kick off, with their first two games against teams that, I mean, Dave Campbell's has got as playoff teams in that district. So they're going to – and then they finish with the potential number 1 or number 2 seed, depending on how you look at it. So they've got kind of a tough start to district and a tough finish. And so it's going to be key for them how they do in that in-between stretch.
Just for clarity, Woodrow Wilson is not a bad team. White House should be considered a favorite, 1 to 2 touchdown favorite. But last year, White House is a tough place to play. Y'all are going to have a great environment when you're doing their home games because it is a crazy atmosphere there. And Woodrow Wilson just got completely overwhelmed. White House has to make that bus ride up here this year. So I think it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit different of a dynamic. White House should do good. And we kind of already talking about what playoff seed you want to get in. And really in that district in 7-5A, you want to avoid 3 and 4 because 1 and 2, Huntsville, Port Neches, Grove, these are state ranked top 5 to 10 teams. You want to avoid that in the first round.
All right. Well, those are the 4 teams we're covering all the time. So we'll be going through their schedule, but something that we've added this season, we kind of did a little bit, but we didn't have a really official name for it. But this year, we're going to have NETSN games of the week. We're going to try to go around the different schools and cover some games that we see that we think need some coverage. And just kind of going through these guys, I was counting. We have 79 different schools this season that we're going to be covering on NETSN. 79 different teams. And that's with, the games against some of the teams that we're covering full time and then the games of the week we have. So just, let that sink in. So if you're watching the show and you're like, hey, are they covering my team? I mean, there's a good chance, at least one game this year that we'll be covering. And so I'm excited to get to kind of share this with you guys tonight. But 79 and that sound crazy to you guys? I mean, that's to me, I didn't realize how many. I knew we were covering a lot of different schools. When I had it go through and add up, I was trying to get all these unique teams. 79 schools. What's that say right there?
Well, not just that, but then also we're looking at almost 100 games, especially once we get to playoffs. It's going to be 100 games that we'll be doing, which is just awesome. I mean, just to see just the area that we'll be covering, the types of schools from small to big, private, public. We're going to see a lot of great athletes.
Jeremy, How do you feel about jumping in first season of football and we've got this many teams to cover?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. I think it's, as a preparation standpoint, right, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. I think you and I are going to be bumping around to a few of those games of the week, so we won't have that common, roster set to go from. So I think it makes you a little bit nervous, but it's also super exciting because you get to see, a big variety of talent across this area. And I'm excited just to jump in and do that. I had a blast at the scrimmage the other night, and so I'm looking forward to just getting to do that all season.
Brandon, how do you feel about you're going to get to not only are you going to attend a bunch of games, but you'll get some great, perspective on some of the schools that maybe you don't get a chance to go out to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like because I grew up in the, or when I started my career as I covering small school ball. Well, as I've gotten deeper in, I'm mostly following 5A, 6A teams every week, and I don't get out to as many places. I'm kind of with one team, I like to be able to get to see them when I can, whether it be live. I got to go to a few scrimmages this week with some smaller schools, or watching it on NETSN, or being able to watch it that way. So I like that perspective because I don't get to a lot of times I don't get to see them until third, fourth round of the playoffs. So I like, but a lot of times the best environments are in those home stadiums on Friday nights. So.
Diggs, this will give you a chance to kind of put your eyes on some more teams. Hopefully, you can even say it could help your statewide pick'ems. We could be helping you in this aspect.
You always have. I mean, one of my favorite highlights from last year was getting to work with Jaron and broadcast a game over at the Star with Honeygrove. And you never know when the playoffs start and you start hitting the phones, that 79 could increase exponentially because of the network and the reach out there. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where the future goes in season this year. I know you got a lot of things planned, but the unknown is sometimes where the fun can be.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's 79 and counting. You're right. It's just definitely probably hit some schools that we're not able to get during the regular season. All right. So you guys ready to go through these games?
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. Here we go. We're going to start with opening night, which is Thursday, August 28th. We've got Tatum and Winsboro, Nacogdoches, Palestine, Lindale, Hallsville, and we also have San Augustine and Beckville. Those 4 games that first Thursday of the season. Jaron, first up, you're going to be at Tatum, Winsboro. How excited are you to head up north to Winsboro?
Yeah, so you guys know, I called Tatum several years, so I enjoy anytime I get to see the Eagles. Now they have a real tall order going up against a Winsboro team that I have ranked really high in our small school poll. Get to see one of the fastest humans alive in Caden Capehart, Ole Miss commit, right? Ole Miss or Mississippi State commit. Going to see him. Coach Finney and him always does a good job. That offense is really fun to watch. Did one of their playoff games last year. So, that's a good one to start off again. I know Tatum definitely has some spots to fill. They lost a lot last year in their senior class. Have a new quarterback coming in who played for him in the younger teams. But, so I'm excited to see this game. It's going to be a good one going up to Raider Stadium.
Jeremy, we're going to be down in Palestine to see Nacogdoches and Palestine. You've seen probably a little bit of Nacogdoches in the past, so kind of in that, they're kind of a big school, East Texas. I'm excited to see this because, Nacogdoches has been a team that I feel like they've got talent and they've just struggled within the district in 5A. And you've got Palestine, who's got a second-year coach in Coach Race, where he is looking to make some improvements here too in a tough district himself. And so I think this is a big game for both these schools to see kind of where they are right now at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, like you said, I spent a long time at Hubbard Middle School here in Tyler, so I spent probably 13 years or so on the sidelines on Friday nights or somewhere in the booth with Tyler Legacy, and then we'd often play Nax Middle School as part of the kind of swaps that you do here in the East Texas area to get schools that are similar in size, and they were always a pretty tough team, and it was always it's been surprising to see them kind of not, like you said, they've got talent. I think just getting that all put together, and and then Palestine's just down the road too, so it kind of feels like you got an interesting thing. I mean, there might have been a famous guy that's come through Palestine. I don't, what his name was, some kind of running back, right? That, man, that watching him play, so I'm excited. I think that the tradition thing, and like you said, second year coach trying to get that culture back around to where that was, it'll be exciting to get that game going, and what a way to start off the season.
Brendan, what are you looking at that schedule? What do you see?
Okay, so we got Palestine, or we got Tatum Winsboro, Palestine, Nacogdoches. What were the other two?
Lindale, Hallsville, and St. Augustine and Beckville.
All right, I'll give a little quick hitter on each real quick. So Tatum Winsboro, I'm with Jerry, and I've got them ranked really high. I think they may win that district. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Winsboro's got a lot back, and they haven't beaten Malakoff, but it was a heck of a game last year. That's going to be a fun district. Like you said, Camden Capehart, Noli Carroll at quarterback. They're really good. Nacogdoches, Palestine. I'm very familiar with Nacogdoches too. I worked there for 8 years, covered that program very closely. It had some years that were kind of good, and but it's been a while. And but Coach House down there, I think he's going to get it going. Palestine, Coach Ray's the Palestine head coach. He was the offensive coordinator my last year in NAC, and now he's at Palestine. Savorian Martin's going to Texas Tech. A good two-way star for them. So Palestine, I think they're going to have a really good year. They're always dangerous, but I think this is the year they're always in that fourth, fifth spot in the playoffs. I think they get in this year, and that district, once you get in the playoffs, that district normally plays for a while, so until they meet each other. So, and then Lindale Hallsville, that's that Thursday night game. Last year I got so excited. It was going to be Hallsville at Lindale to open the season. I was going to be there, and then Tyler Legacy and Texas High decided to move their game to Thursday too, and they're both Thursday this year. So I'm not going to make the trip to Hallsville, but I'll watch, and I'll be at Tyler Legacy and Texas High that night at Rose, where I'm at right now. It looks like, and but Lindale Hallsville, that should be a good. Coach Cochran, the Lindale head coach, he graduated from Hallsville. His brother was one of his coordinators. He went to Hallsville, so. There's a connection there, and Lindale, they were really young last year. They're still kind of young this year, but now they're mainly juniors. But they have a stud senior in Houston defensive end commit, Caleb Walker. He's a monster, and so Hallsville's going to want to stay clear of his side because he can wreak havoc on quarterbacks, running backs, everybody. So, but I saw some highlights from the Lindale scrimmages the other night against Sulphur, and they junior quarterback David Lindig, he's stepping into his own, and he's got some weapons, and I think Lindale's going to make some noise this year, and then that last one was St. Augustine Beckville. Actually was on the phone a couple of days ago with the Beckville beat writer, and we were talking about that game because St. Augustine, a lot of people don't know St. Augustine used to be a state power. I mean, they were really good and they won state in 2004, and then 2 days later fired their head coach. And they used to have they have a lot of athletes, and they have athletes now. They got Renfro, I think it's DeAdrian's how you say it, but he's a junior now, and he's got a lot of big time offers. Florida State, UTSA, some other ones, and St. Augustine has athletes. And Beckville's got a dynamic athlete in Jordan Prince. That's going to be a fun opening game. Y'all got a heck of a schedule for week one. So we got to have the quad box up. Maybe have next year we'll start.
Maybe we need to come up with that. I'll work on that.
No, next year we'll have a NETSN Red Zone, and you get when you have 80 games going at once, and so you'll be like Scott Hansen in the studio, Brett. So
hey, you know what? We'll take it. What do you think, Diggs? Just look from that Thursday opening lineup. You got anything that sticks out to you?
I always look for style points in the first week because I think there are some games like Tatum and Winsboro where one team is going to be a little bit heavily favored. But I joined Brandon in his unpopular opinion. I think Winsboro is going to usurp Malakoff this year as that top spot. So I'm going to be looking for style points. I'm going to be looking for consistency. And are they coming at a high level, or do they look a little bit shaky? Because I think you can kind of tell if a team is ready to go for a November, December run by the way they're playing in August. So the Winsboro is a team I'm really going to be looking at, especially because of the history of me and Malakoff. And last year, the Liberty ILO thing, and we got to forget about that. But, I can't be going publicly against Malakoff and laying the bricks that I've been doing. So I'm keeping an eye on the teams that I think might do it, like Winsboro this year.
All right. Friday night, August 29th, we have Brook Hill going to Redwater, Mount Enterprise traveling to Carlisle, and White House traveling up to the DFW area for Dallas Wilson. Then also we have Center traveling over to the historic Tomato Bowl to play Jacksonville, and then Troop traveling to Shelbyville. Nice little Friday slate, guys. I will be traveling to the DFW. I'll be going with the White House guys that week. So I'm going to be traveling up to see White House's first game against Dallas Wilson. Let's see. Keith and Jeremy, you're going to be go over in Carlisle and get to see the Carlisle Indians again in week 1. Mount Enterprise is going to be a tough opening round or opening day game for them. Keegan Ash, an incredible talent there. Dan, what do you think about that one, Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting. We were talking Friday night. We got up there, and they're one of those schools that still has a grass field, right? And we were talking about how nice it looked, and I think just the atmosphere was great. I mean, the stands were packed. It was a scrimmage, right? It was 5:00, and there were not many seats open, and so I think there's just a renewed buzz there in Carlisle, and a great test for them to get started with, and a way to kind of get your season rolling. And I think probably a benefit a little bit to have that game at home, right? Versus maybe at Mount Enterprise. I think that gives you at least a little bit of better, a little bit of a puncher's chance there. But I think it's going to be a good test, and they'll kind of see what they've got and see what tricks they can pull out and see if they can come out with a W there.
Jaron, you're going to be traveling up with the Brook Hill guys at first. We kind of going back up in your north corner of East Texas there at Redwater. Tell us about what you're expecting out of Brook Hill there.
Yeah, again, I commented on it with the when we talked about the scrimmage a little bit, but I'm just excited to see this offensive line for Brook Hill. We talked about it at the scrimmage, is that they seem to just have a nastiness to them that maybe they hadn't had. The Sid guy I mentioned, and then another guy named Larry that's on the line, and then Ryle, the quarterback. He's just a sophomore. Coach Ryle's son, just a sophomore, but the poise that I saw, again, is a scrimmage, but he had a lot of poise and he can sling the ball. So I'm excited to see them in game action, going up to Redwater, and it'll be a fun night.
Yeah, he's got it, and he's a big dude. He's like 6'4", probably 205. I mean, he's a big kid, so he's an impressive look. You just look at him, and you're like, yeah, he's going to be a good quarterback.
Yeah, and he played a little basketball, and I think he was like the 4th or 5th tallest guy on the team at 6'4". So that tells you a little bit about the height they had down there at Brook Hill. But I think you could see the athleticism even on the basketball court, and I think it's a big deal to fill the shoes of a senior quarterback in Sam Williams that left, and but I think it helps being the coach's son, right? There's some trust that's been built there, right, and some things there where there's some communication that maybe you don't have to have when it's not a father-son deal. And so I think he's going to do a good job. And I think if they can keep him upright, and he'll sling it for sure.
All right, Brandon, you got the games there. What do you think?
So we got Brook Hill and Redwater, Rawhouse and Woodrow Wilson, and who was the
Enterprise?
Carlisle Enterprise. Is that the only three?
It's Center, Jacksonville, Troop, Shelbyville.
Okay, well, I saw Troop on Thursday. That was one of the scrimmages I did. So I got to see them. Brett Wells, two-way running back linebacker. He's a junior this year. He's been to track a couple times on the relay team. He's dynamic. They got receivers. They got DeCarron Hawley, a transfer from Legacy. I don't know what middle school he went to, so Jeremy may be familiar with him. But he was a Tyler kid, and he's a wide receiver for Troop, and he made some dynamic catches there night. And they got James Pierce on the other side. So Troop's got some receivers. They got a sophomore quarterback, Josh Childress, is pretty good. They're going to be, I like Troop this year. I like what I saw. They played Gladewater there night, and it was But I think Shelbyville's got some. They're gonna be pretty good too. So that's gonna be a fun opening game. You talked about Mount Enterprise with Kagan Ash. He's great. He runs for a lot. He's gonna play linebacker at the next level, but he runs for about 300 yards a game in high school. So Carlisle's got their hands full that night with him. But we talked about Carlisle already. And yeah, I'm excited to see what Brookhill does this year, especially after hearing Jaron talk today about, getting to see them. And I'm excited to see Brookhill and see how they do. Cause you just never know. It's a new, they got, Coach's son Ryle back and they got some other kids back. But other than that, they have a lot of new cast every year with the boarding students. So a lot of times you don't know it's it's like the transfer portal. You never know what you got until you see it. So I'm excited to see that. And, center Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, we talked about, I'm excited about the Monty Stevenson area down there. Tomato Bowl's probably one of my favorite places to watch a game. And, I may do the show from there next week. So I love the Tomato Bowl, and I've talked to Coach Stevenson. I'm excited, and Center's also got a new coach. So it's two new coaches. Is it Nick Brown? Is that
Nick Brown?
Nick Brown,
yeah. If y'all didn't check out the show, we had the Nick Brown show this past week, and they kind of got to talk to him, introduce himself. He talked a lot about things that he expects and all that. So if you didn't check out the Nick Brown show, go back and check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. So,
that's a good slate of games. Yeah, I don't know about y'all Thursday, Friday, man. Y'all gonna be that's gonna be some fun football on NETSN. So,
Professor.
Well, I mean, what's going to be your pregame meal coming to Dallas? You going to go hit Dairy Palace up?
I don't know. I'm traveling with Rob, so we haven't got that far ahead. He's going to be we're traveling up together, so I'm not sure. Do you have a suggestion, Professor?
I just gave it to you. I mean, if I'm ever going out to East Texas, if I'm going to go see Brandon at Rose, I'm going to Dairy Palace, probably both ways. So they got the diverse menu. You can find whatever you want to out there.
Well, Dairy Palace is a familiar friend. I travel.
Yeah. He wants to go somewhere in Dallas.
I was just thinking somewhere like there that that's like around that area. That's a good spot to go.
I mean, you're always checking in up here. I mean, you're always finding your way up. You know where this area is. But I think that Jacksonville is a team that it just seems like they've been down for so long, and it's just for historically, I feel like they're due to take a step up. I don't know if they're going to take a step up enough to make the playoffs, but center, obviously this coach didn't make the schedule, but given how top heavy that district is, and then kind of bottom heavy where you got the big three and the little three in that district, I think that center would have maybe scheduled a little bit more aggressively, but again, I realize that wasn't his calling, so maybe that's something that they'll work on next year. But if Center's going to try to get ready to take that step with Athens and Carthage, I don't know if Jacksonville is going to be the team to push them, but I think you might get trends in this game. I think what you have in your week one schedule is a lot of games where you can start to see trends. What teams are trending up, what teams are taking a step back. So there's going to be a lot of intrigue in your schedule. So. And I think anytime I can fire on NETSN and see my teams in Woodrow Wilson, because Plano East's coach came from Woodrow Wilson, so I have affinity for Woodrow Wilson.
Okay,
hope they beat White House.
All right, so Diggs, I've got a sneaky Canton pick for a food option for you. Okay, there's a pizza place just down the street from Dairy Palace on the left, and I just went blank on the name, but there is a pizza place and it is outstanding. That's typically our family stop if we go out to hit up Splash Kingdom there, the little water park, and on the way back home we'll stop and grab some pizza there. But there's a good little spot there on 19.
Good. I reciprocate that. I can't think of the name either, but I know which one you're talking about. It's been there a while as well. I think it's been there since the 70s. So it's good. Place that's been there a while. So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll hit our Dairy Palace for sure. Like, give me a shake any day, all day, and on Sunday. But it's a good pizza spot.
And so we're talking about food. Who'd you say is going to Palestine on? I guess it was Thursday night.
That would be me and Jeremy.
Okay, well, make sure don't eat too much before, because Palestine has one of the best, if not the best. It's that I've been to press box food spreads. So,
ooh, Jeremy.
Have you ever done a game at Palestine?
Yes, I have done one not not an actual regular game, but a playoff game.
It's kind of, it's mini Longview, but I like it, so you come in through the high school and you like walk past the gym and then you're in the press box and then you're looking down into the stadium. So I've always it's been a while since I've done a game at Palestine, but I used to do tons of them there. And I love, it's one of my favorite. It's a kind of a hidden gym type stadium. And, but yeah, the press box, I hope it's, and I heard it's still pretty good, but I know it used to be, but I hopefully they keep it up because it's like a variety. Like you got tons of options and different styles. You got your American, your Italian, your Mexican, your Chinese. You got options. So kind of like Diggs would know, like Texas style, Texas High. Theirs is like that too, where they give you a variety of options. So
okay. Well, we may or may not visit Palestine multiple times this year. We'll find out here shortly. And then, if it wasn't good enough, if you didn't have enough football on NETSN on Thursday and you didn't get enough on Friday, then we got a Saturday game for you. Week 1, Winona, Big Sandy. They're going to play in Gladewater. Jaron is going to be on the call for that one. Mr. Peoples, what are you looking forward to on that one? Saturday football.
3 games in a week. It's going to be fun. Back to back. But no,
we're giving you Friday off kind of because you're just you'll be kind of the help and the third guy there. So at least you have kind of a break for your voice there on Friday.
Well, it's going to be our first regular season look at Big Sandy. And then I always enjoy, calling it Jack Murphy. This nice spacious stadium, spacious press box. So I think it's going to be a good day and a good way to end a good busy week 1.
Brandon, what do you think? What are you thinking about that game between? I know Winona's been down here over the last couple of years, but what do you think about them and Big Sandy there?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of their players a couple weeks ago, me today, and they Winona, and they seemed excited about it. But Jaron talked about Big Sandy. I think they're going to be better this year too. So it's a fun game too because those two, Winona and Big Sandy are real close to each other. Mm-hmm. So those you always seem like one year a kid plays for Winona and the next year he plays for Big Sandy and vice versa. Because they're right there. Depending where you live, you could maybe go to both schools. So it's right there. So there's probably a lot of familiarity between those towns and those kids. So that it'll be a good it's not Big Sandy and Hawkins is considered like the big rivalry for Big Sandy, but Big Sandy Winona is right there too. So there's gonna be some kind of rivalry element there, and it's a good Saturday night game.
All right. Well, that's week 1, man. I feel like week 1. We've had the schedule kind of, penciled in for a while, but it feels good talking to, other people and, feel how good that week 1 schedule is. I'm just super excited. If you didn't get enough week 1, well, there's week 2. Thursday night, September 4th, we have a quadruple header on NETSN. We've got Beckville versus Joaquin. We've got Huntington versus Frankston. We've got Alba Golden versus Mount Enterprise. And we've got Dangerfield at Tatum. First thoughts about that lineup, anyone?
Dangerfield Tatum, my gosh. I've done that game a few times over the years, and it's always fun. I think the last time I went, it was in Dangerfield. It was raining. I think it was Bubba Hampton Sr. at Dangerfield. Tatum was really pretty good that year too, and so that's going to be a fun game. A lot of athletes. Alba Gold Mount Enterprise. That's going to be a good defensive running battle. And so Beckville Joaquin. They get you with a slot T, and that gives people problems. No matter who's coaching there, and they got an alum, Jared Jones, leading the way now. But Joaquin, it's slot TT die. And I will likely be that night. I may be at that Huntington Frankston game, or I'll be at First Baptist at Grace. So I will have a game that night, one of those options. So it's a good Thursday slate.
Jaron, you're going to be at that Dangerfield Tatum game. How you feeling there about that one?
Yeah, well, again, that's kind of a historic game, that they play. They've been playing for a lot of years, those two teams. We talked to, when we did our small school, small school preview show last week. I'm pretty high on Dangerfield. I had them ranked, I think, top 8. in our poll. You know, kind of started off slow last year, but ended up making a good playoff run. Be my second week in a row getting to see Tatum. So and kind of see some of the adjustments maybe they make from a week 1 game against Winsboro. So yeah, it's going to be a good week too.
Jeremy, what are you thinking there? We're going to be with me in Frankston on Thursday.
Yeah, I was looking at the Huntington Frankston. You know, I guess we'll make some room for Brandon in there if he comes and joins us and hangs out. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I think, you know, Frankston's that team just down the road that, you know, it kind of feels close and it kind of feels like it's it's not a Tyler school, but it seems like these days as Tyler keeps getting bigger, it's going to be closer too. And, you know, I think, they've lost some guys over the last couple of years, and we had a couple of kids that grew up at our church, went through Frankston and played and have graduated. And so, you know, had a little tie there as far as like just rooting for them. And so I'm excited to see what that game looks like. And that Dangerfield Tatum, man, I'll be trying not to tune in because I don't want to get distracted, but that's going to be a tough one not to watch. You know,
hey, we might have another screen we can set up to.
Maybe we can sling over a little bit.
No, and I'm excited to see Frankston early. You know, we talked about Carlisle and them being in that district, so I'm excited to see kind of where Frankston's at. You know, because I've seen Carlisle in the scrimmage the other night, so it'll be an early look at Frankston to see kind of how they're stacking up. Professor, what do you see down there on that schedule for Thursday, the second week?
Well, I'm still reeling from Joaquin after coming back and destroying Honey Grove the way they did in that second half. So, definitely going to be keeping an eye on Joaquin because Honey Grove is my adopted team. I think that they have a really good chance to at least make it to the state finals, but you got to go through Joaquin at some point. Keep an eye on that a little bit selfishly to kind of gauge how Honey Grove Joaquin might look at in their projections currently.
I guess you're looking for a rematch then. That's what I'm hearing. You want some rematch?
I think Honey Grove's going to get there. We'll find out if Joaquin can.
All right. Friday, September 5th, we've got Carlisle at Overton. We've got Legacy Christian at Brook Hill. We've got Big Sandy at Como Picton. We've got New Diana at Gladewater. We've got Spring Hill at Center, and we've got Kilgore at White House. Guys, there's a pretty nice little slate on Friday. What? Go ahead, Jaron.
It's just goodness gracious. That's only week 2. I'm super excited about the Carlisle Overton game. It's no secret. I really enjoy Carlisle, but I love Coach Laymance and Overton.
Jaron, I've got a question for you. So you wore your green shirt. You have Tatum, Overton. I really do think that like schools that are green, that's just your team.
That's my thing.
Are you a Philadelphia Eagles fan too? Like,
don't start that.
Okay.
All right. But no, I think that's going to be a fun game. New Diana, it's a team that we talked about that there's a lot of questions, with the last minute kind of coaching change there. Coach Lane coming in. Losing Coach Pitts, and so that's just one of those teams I want to keep an eye on. I didn't rank them really high, just because again some unknown there, and then getting to get a look at Kilgore. Obviously they've got a big week 1 matchup against Carthage, but I think they're poised to make another deep run. So it's going to be fun to see what happens with that game.
Brandon, what do you think about that lineup?
I like the one that stands out to me is you said Gladewater at New Diana, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I got to see Gladewater on Thursday, a scrimmage against Troop, like I mentioned earlier. And Gladewater, they run out of the I formation. They got their quarterback's name is Achilles, and he can sling a little bit too. But they got several backs out of the I formation, and that'll be it's week 2, so it's not but both teams got new head coaches, as Jerry mentioned. Kerry Lane, former Pine Tree head coach, and longtime Gilmer assistant, and then it's going to be the head coach, first-year head coach for Jermaine Lewis, former UNLV basketball standout, and I got to talk to him there night after scrimmage. He likes what he sees from his guys. He's been an assistant at Gladewater for a while. Bounced around to some. He was at Timpson a little bit with Terry Bussey and them, and so he's bounced around a little bit, but he's been back at Gladewater for a couple of years now, and he's looking forward to taking over the reins there. So,
Jeremy, anything stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kilgore Whitehouse is going to be a big test for Whitehouse and kind of to see where they want to be culture wise, right? I think it's a tough matchup. You know what I mean? And so I think you're going to come into that as the underdog, but again, you're at home, and so I'd be interested to see how that game. I think the start's going to be key to that game. I think the longer that Whitehouse can keep it close, I think the better shot they have, and can Kilgore impose their will. So I think that's an interesting matchup. I think for a White House team that wants to kind of do how they want to start the year, how they finished last year. And so I think that'll be fun. I mean, obviously the new Diana Gladewater is going to be great too. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we'll be. Me and you will be at that new Diana Gladewater game. I'm excited to get back to Gladewater. Always loved Jack Murphy Stadium. That's one of the nicer facilities in the area as far as especially for the media. They got a nice space for media. So I'm always a fan of those places that have nice spots for us to take care of us. Professor, what do you see there?
I was a big fan of Coach Pitts in talking, and he would always engage me in what is East Texas and whatnot. So I'd always keep my eye on them, and I felt like New Diana was a team on the way up. But he's a coach on the way up, and obviously I think he's had a chance to improve his lot in life, and now we're going to find out what New Diana has culturally from what he has kind of established. So I think that kind of stands out to me as well. Coach Lane has a chance to establish his mark on a team that had probably taken a couple of steps up in the last couple of years. So can he continue that? So that's kind of a good storyline in week 2.
Hey, Brett, I was going to say, too, to Jeremy, he was talking about White House Kilgore. So I did the game last year. It was at Kilgore. So this year it's at White House, right?
Yes.
Yeah, last year I did the game at Kilgore. And White House, for quarter and 8 minutes, they were dominating. With about 3 minutes to go in the second quarter, Kilgore had negative 27 yards. And White House was up double digits. They were in control of the game, backed up to the end zone. Quarterback gets hurt, turn it over. Kilgore scores. Quarterback's out for the game. I think he was out for the season. And he was a young quarterback, and now he moved to San Antonio along with his stud freshman receiver brother. So they don't even have them anymore, But White House was in control of that game for almost that whole first half, and then Kilgore kind of turned on the second half and ended up winning. But you just never know. And so, White House they had a good plan for Kilgore early in that game last year, and until that injury then things changed. But it'd be an interesting game because White House is gonna. But the one thing with White House this year is they're breaking in. They got to do the same head coach, but both their coordinators got head coaching jobs at Rusk and at Livingston, so they got 2 new coordinators. So that'll be interesting too to see what changes the Wildcats have there. So, and then also Diggs, I was going to ask you. So you said Coach Pitts would engage you about East Texas. What I don't even know. I know he's at Ozona. I don't know where that is. What region is what region of the state do you classify that in?
Texas.
Huh?
West Texas.
Okay, so it's Hill Country then probably.
And I
don't play these games.
To win their district.
Woods. It's West Texas.
Okay.
It's a long way over there. It's a long way.
But,
I have no idea what it is, but I'm a big Coach Pitts fan. So
if Ozona starts being a state power, they'll move over to DFW real quick. Just watch how it works.
We might find a way to group them into San Antonio, but it's just kind of
okay. All right. Well, that's week 2. Week 3, Thursday night, September 11th. James Bowie versus Overton. West Rusk at Gladewater. San Augustine at Carlisle. And Joaquin at Tenaha. Thursday night. What are your thoughts on that group of teams there?
I'm not going to go into details. I'm just glad that game's at Overton this year and not at James Bowie. Again, I'm just going to leave that there.
Disrespect, Jaron, the disrespect.
No, just trust me. We'll talk about that off air. But yeah. So no. Again, over the second week in a row, getting to see Overton in action.
I feel a theme again, Jaron. You're covering Overton again.
Yeah.
So I think you're the green team this year. You're definitely going to get some good use out of your green shirt, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to be, let's see, Jeremy, we're going to be in Gladewater for that West Rusk Gladewater game.
Yeah, somehow we snuck back-to-back Gladewater weeks in there. No deal.
Hey, I know somebody. I know somebody.
Yeah, hey, I'll take it.
I'm excited to see kind of what West Rusk is. There for a while, they dominated that district, and they've kind of the last couple years they haven't been as strong. They're still going to be a solid team. I'll be interested to see what Coach Amata has them do. I think Gladewater and West Rusk are kind of in similar spots where they're trying to move up. Gladewater, I think they were like right on the outside last year in the playoffs. I think they've got a chance to take that step to get in the playoffs. And West Rusk, they're down the 4th spot. And we kind of talked about it in our small school show that we kind of think Troop, ARP, and then is it New Diana in that district? Which one is in that district? The 3rd spot. I can't remember who it was, but we had West Rusk at 4. Who was the other team in that district? Went blank a second. Troop, West Rusk.
Was it ARP?
No, we had Troop, ARP.
New Diana.
Is it New Diana? Okay. So I think this is a good starting point for West Rusk. Can they, New Diana lost their coach. Can they step back up and compete with ARP and Troop? And I think we can, the Gladewater is trying to do the same thing. So I think that's a good, solid matchup to see kind of where those teams are early in the season. So, but that's where I will be. And I'm just looking at that schedule and I'm like, Big Sandy going to Lone Oak is coming up next. But I think the St. Augustine Carlisle game could be interesting. We talked about St. Augustine that they always have good athletes. They're in that tough district with with Timpson and with Joaquin and with Shelbyville and Garrison. So St. Augustine, they're going to get battle tested during the district play, but it'll be interesting to see kind of where Carlisle and St. Augustine are. So I like this schedule. This Thursday night's going to be nice. Brandon, what do you think about this Thursday night?
So it was so you had West Rusk and Gladewater, Simsbury and Overton. What was the third one?
You had West Rusk, Gladewater, Overton versus James Bowie. You had St. Augustine, Carlisle, and Joaquin Tenaha.
Joaquin Tenaha would be fun. Is it at Tenaha?
It's at Tenaha, yes, sir.
That's one of my favorite stadiums too. It's the Pit. It's down in the you see it on the road. You can see the top, but you can't see it's down in the hole. So it's a fun environment there. It gets loud. Like I said earlier, I like watching Joaquin play, and Tenaha's always got athletes. But and then we were talking about West Rusk. I got to talk to them. I actually had a story published on West Rusk a few hours ago today. Wrote it a few days ago, but it hit the it hit yesterday. It hit yesterday. It is in Monday's paper. So it hit yesterday, and it's online on the Tyler paper, and it's on West Rusk. I talked to Coach Mata and a couple of their players at Media Day a couple weeks ago. Comanche McGregor, he's an exciting player for them, and West Rusk is going to be competitive. It's just they had some really, really good classes a few years ago, and then like I said, New Diana came into that district, so it's just made that district tougher. But that'll be a good Thursday night game.
So, and Brendan, those that don't know, how can they get access to your articles?
TylerPaper.com.
All right, make sure you go subscribe. Brandon's always got great stuff coming out, so check out his stuff. Jeremy, what do you see there?
I think, again, I think we're going to be, it'll be a fun look there at Gladewater and West Rusk, and really a chance for both of those schools to kind of hopefully get the ball rolling, get some momentum going there. I think that's going to be a good one. That's the one. I think the St. Augustine Carlisle will be interesting too. It's fun when you get to see teams, like I said, we mentioned already, we got to see them in the scrimmage, and I just loved and again, most of the coaches do this, I'm not saying, but just the passionate and the response that the players had when the coaches were, there was a couple times we thought the coaches were going to be out there making a tackle because they were so fired up about the way the defense was playing that night before they went to the live portion. And so, I think it'll be just exciting for Carlisle to kind of get back where they probably feel like they should be. And, in a place that's going to have a lot of buy-in. There's something unique about Texas football in general, but especially in those small towns where, everybody's invested and, somebody on the team, right? Like not that you've heard about this kid who might have, but I mean, they know those kids, and it's just an exciting thing. And so I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited to just expand my knowledge of that area. Like you said, I spend a lot of time in the 5-6A world, and so it's fun for me to get to kind of see what the smaller schools have to offer as well.
Professor, what do you see there?
I'm a little redundant, but one thing I look for when I look at schedules and games are competitive games. I don't care if it's bad competitive or good competitive. I want to see two teams that are going to go 48 minutes and are going to play each other well. You see 70-7 games, and it's hard to keep engaged. And when I look at West Rusk and Gladewater, that game on paper looks about as even as you can get. So I mean, you want a game that can go 2-3 overtimes, or a game that is just going to be a banger. Tune into that one, because that's going to be a fun one. Right now, and things change as we get a couple of weeks of data in there, but kind of just looking at where they're at in their district, where they're at kind of in computer polls. This is a pick'em, a pure pick'em. So when you get that kind of game on a Thursday night, it's going to be fun to watch.
That makes me feel good about that. That's where I'll be, Professor. So feel good about that. You think it's going to be a good one. All right, let's go to Friday, September 12th. We have Center at North DeSoto, Louisiana. That's a game that they play every year. Center travels across the border there. We got Hemphill, West Sabine, Big Sandy, Lone Oak, White House, Chapel Hill, and Athens versus Palestine. A couple of nice rivalry games on that Friday night, guys. And I try not to put my Homer hat on, but I'm going to put my Homer bias hat on for a minute. I'm looking forward to being in Chapel Hill for that Chapel Hill White House game. I can't remember the last time Chapel Hill and White House played in Chapel Hill. I don't know when that was. It was before my time, because we always played at Rose Stadium. So it's going to be wild. We've got new schools that have been built. The construction's finishing. They're tearing down the back side of the visitor stadium because they're going to flip the stadium with a new press box. Will be open in 2026. So it's going to be standing room only. It's going to be parking. People are going to be parking miles away and walking. It's going to be a madhouse. I don't know where they're going to fit the White House band, as they would take up probably half of the visitor section. The whole night's going to be chaotic, and I'm going to drive over there and get me a little spot in the stands in front of the press box. We're going to be there with the people. It's going to be a wild night. But you look at that game, and I look over here and I see we got Palestine and Athens too. That's a big rivalry right there. Palestine, a team that's on the way up. Athens, we've talked about them. They're kind of seated right below Carthage in their district, we think. And so that could be a really great game as well. Man, some great games on Friday. What do you guys think? What sticks out to you?
I'll be at a different rivalry game that night, but I'll be at Van Lindale that night. But you got some good ones. And the White House Chapel Hill. So when my first football season here was 2018, and they played at Rose, like you said, and it was so they played it, and it was an awesome game. Well, I remember before 2020, they were going to play. They were going to go back to campuses. They had mentioned, hey, we're going to go back to campuses, but then they didn't get to play those because of COVID, and 4A and below started their season 4 weeks earlier, so they had to cancel. They didn't even get to play those next 2 years, and then they went 2 years and didn't play at all. And then last year they picked it back up and they said, we're renewing this rivalry and we're going to play it on campuses. So and last year it was at White House, and now this year, like you said, it'll be at Chapel Hill for the first time in a while. It's a fun area rivalry, and like you said, it's gonna be packed. And I heard it was a wild game last year in White House. I heard it was packed. I heard there was a lot of chippiness going on. So that'll be a fun one. There's a big rivalry component there, and same thing like you said with Athens and Palestine, the battle of Maroon. So
as y'all know, I cut my teeth in radio in Louisiana, so I got to North DeSoto was one of the teams I covered for the first several years. And so anytime that my East Texas teams get to cross the border and go play a team I used to cover, I really enjoy. Coach Dunn, who used to be at Evangel Academy, is at North DeSoto and is doing a great job there. Their quarterback, senior Luke Delafield, I call his older sisters. They went off and played college softball. He's already committed to Northwestern State. He can sling the ball, and he is just an incredible talent. So I know the Rough Riders, part of the NETSN family. They're going to go over there and they're going to have a fun game against the Griffins. That's what North Dakota's mascot is. And so, anytime that the Texas and Louisiana worlds used to be involved in collide, that's fun.
Well, during that game we've had it the last couple of years, and it's a high scoring game every time. So if you like points, Center North Dakota, that's going to be a good one.
It's all to be a basketball score game for sure.
Yeah. Brandon,
didn't I already talk about it?
Yeah.
You did go. Sorry, Brandon. Jeremy, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, man, I think this is one of those fun weeks where I don't think you can go wrong, right? Like I think you can go, you can go quadcast here and catch 4 really good games. And I think Jaron and I are going to be in Lone Oak watching Big Sandy. And I'm trying to think. I don't think either of those teams wear green, do they, Jaron?
Nope, my first week.
You might have to do an outfit change for the first time all season. I'm going to have to do some laundry. But no, I mean, again, I think Athens Palestine is going to be the rivalry games are just the best, right? I mean, you're up for it. You've heard stories from years before, and so I think it just adds to the mystique of the game. And White House Chapel Hill is going to be a fun one. I mean, man, sign me up, right? Inject it into my veins. Let's go.
Maybe you'll get there. Tell Jaron you'll need to get there early enough so you can set an extra screen up or something there, and
there you go.
You can have good games going. Professor, what do you think?
We're getting to the place where I've been doing this for so long. I'm starting to see like Riley Dodge. I covered him as a high school player, and Lone Oaks coach Logan Turner, when he was at Springtown, I covered him and his dad Brad Turner. So he comes from that coaching lineage as well. So I keep an eye on Lone Oak, and they've progressed very well. Like you, when I do my statewide pick or when I do my area wide pick'ems, I pick East Texas. I always have to go out and try to. I need to like have a conversation with Jaron when we're having North DeSoto and Center talk, because I've been wildly wrong about this for the last couple of years. And I went back and pulled the scores in 2022. It was 71-42. North DeSoto won. And then 57-52 in 2023 were North DeSoto, but Center got the win last year in a kind of in a much more docile fashion, 35-28. So when these two teams are going to play, it's going to be crazy. So the fact that you have that on the air, hope you've got a little bit of extra bandwidth, because you may be going till 11 o'clock that night.
Well, I won't be there. That'll be Shires and Wellington. Those guys. Hopefully they drink their coffee and they can stay up for that one. But man, all right, that's done with that week. Man, we're only 3 weeks in, guys. I'm feeling pretty good about this schedule so far. Let's go to week 4 though, because we've got more football. Let's go. We've got Gainesville versus Henderson. That game will be played in Kaufman. Overton versus Maud, and Ore City versus Big Sandy. I'm actually going to be in Kaufman. I'm going to see Gainesville and Henderson and see Coach Meeks for the first time, and going back to Henderson where he won a state championship under his dad. So I'm excited to see the Henderson Lions and see kind of where they're at. Jaron, let me guess, Jaron, where are you going to be? Are you
back in the green? Back in the green.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Going up to Maud. So going to follow the Overton Mustangs up there, and again, looking to see. Overton lost a lot last year with Bryce Still, just a great talent. Jaden Edwards, another great talent. They're both playing D3 ball. One at ETBU, one at I think Hardin Simmons, maybe. Anyways, and so or Howard Payne, sorry, but Rylan Holloman's a great athlete in his own right. They've still got Gabe Miller, they've got Jordan Ware, so they've still got some guys that can make some big plays, and so I'm gonna be excited that we're getting a good look at Overton these first few weeks.
Brandon, what do you think about those three?
Yeah, it's a good setup. Diggs, he's probably the only one here that remembers the Mod Squad. Do you remember that, Diggs?
I'm not that old. I don't watch 70s shows or whatever.
I'm talking about Mod Football. This is like late 2000s, like 08, 09, 010. they had the mod squad. They had 3 defensive linemen over 320 pounds who all signed with TCU. And that was when Winsboro head coach Josh Finney, he was the head coach at Mod then. And
Finneys. The
Yeah.
Fighting Finneys.
Yeah, they had the Mod squad, and then they had 3 defensive linemen, all 320 plus, all signed with TCU, and they went like 12-2, and then lost to, I think, Cayuga, who either won state or lost in the state final. That was when they had Traylon Shed, and so it was. So Mod used to be a pretty powerhouse. So that would be a fun trip for you, Jaron. The one I'm excited about that night, same with you, Brett, it's Henderson Gainesville, just because I don't know a whole lot about Gainesville, but I know they're normally pretty competitive. And then I think, Diggs is saying no, so okay. Yeah, but Henderson, I'm excited to see what they do. I think Gainesville's they used to be a basketball school. That's what it was. And but Henderson, with Coach Meeks and Coach Sitton over there, and I'm excited to see what they do. And I'll be at Big Sandy and Hawkins. Elysian Fields and Hawkins that night, so that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, I think that's a Kaufman. I'm excited about going to their stadium. I think it's a pretty nice stadium up there. I feel like I've gone a couple of places kind of near DFW here over the last few weeks here to start the season.
We're actually in DFW, by the way.
DFW? Okay. Okay.
Just like you go through Henderson County, that's where the DFW line starts. Then you go to the next county over, and then you're in Kaufman County, which is also still DFW. Literally touches Dallas County at this point.
Okay, sure. So we'll take that. So Athens is also DFW, isn't it?
He thinks Chandler's DFW, and it's 2 minutes from Tyler.
Coach Harrell, where did Coach Harrell grow up? Come on, Ennis.
But that's not Henderson County.
How does that have anything to do with Athens?
Ennis is Ellis County.
He made a promise that he would never leave DFW. That's what he wants to do. His brother Graham, he broke that promise, but Zach has kept it in there.
Clark coached at what, Spring Hill over by Longview?
New Diana, yeah.
Or New Diana, yeah.
Yeah. And then and Zach coached at Van, so.
Oh man. Yeah, we digress. Let's move on to the next night. Go. We got September 19th on a Friday. We've got 2 NETSN schools battling it out as Brook Hill travels to Carlisle. We have Redwater versus New Diana. We have Dangerfield at Center. We have Tatum at West Rusk. We have White House at Paris. And we have Palestine at Marshall. And we have Mount Enterprise at Shelbyville. Whoa, what a lineup there, fellas. Woo. Let's see. So I'm going to be in West Rusk. Maybe the first video broadcast for football out of West Rusk. I don't know if there's been one ever. I know we got a baseball one out of there last year in some sort of fashion. We're gonna try to get that one at West Rusk. I'll have to wear my green shirt that night also because we're going to cover in Tatum as well. So, but that lineup right there, just looking at it, there's a lot of guys. I'm interested to see Brook Hill and Carlisle, obviously 2 of our NETSN schools going at that. Kind of the size of Brook Hill's line going up against Carlisle's returning guys. I think that'll be interesting to see how that goes. You got Dangerfield and Center. There's going to be athletes all over the field in that game. White House traveling up to somewhere in some Paris place. Jaron, do you know anything about that?
Second biggest Paris in the world. That's all I'm saying. We even have an Eiffel Tower.
And Palestine traveling to Marshall. Ooh, that's a big little game there. And then Mount Enterprise and Shelbyville. Even that, I don't know. Brandon, give me some insight on these. These games to me are all going to be good ones here.
I think they're all going to be good. Marshall, this will be y'all's first look at them, and they're going to be good. They run the ball a lot. Who's Brook Hill and Carlisle is the one I'm looking forward to. Who's calling that game?
That will be Coach Hubbard
by himself.
Yeah, with Chad Grubbs on color.
He's not coaching football this year, so now he's going to be y'all's. Okay,
correct.
Who's doing Palestine at Marshall?
I'm doing that one. Yeah.
That would be Jaron.
Well, you probably know this then, Jaron, because you've been over that way. But make sure to go to Cajun Tech's before.
Oh, I know. I was there when Cajun Tex came in. All right, so I was in college when Cajun Tex was first created.
So you already know.
I know that I
Yeah.
was in their first building.
So. Okay, we'll go anyway. I go every time, so it's
yeah.
And I'll have a deal. I'll get see when Diggs' DFW own that night. I'll be watching Crowley that night. So
I'm enjoying being back in the Marshall area. I went to school over there. I ran into Y.A. Tittle on an airplane one time.
You went to Wiley?
Y.A. Tittle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I said, did you go to school at Wiley?
Oh no. So no, I did not go to school at Wiley. No, I didn't.
You went to ETBU, right?
I went to ETBU, but ran the Y.A. Tittle, a former Marshall great.
Y.A. Tittle, yep.
Yeah. So
they got the Y.A. Tittle field house there when you go. I like Marshall, and they've done some renovations.
Yeah.
It'll be better. They still don't have an elevator to the press box. So, but other than that, it's nice.
No elevator, Jaron. Sorry to some bad news.
Carry that equipment up.
Whew. Man, I remember going to Marshall one year. It was a Tyler Legacy early in the season. It was the year the Hurricanes hit down in Houston.
It was raining like crazy.
Oh, dude, it poured. And then they got all of us middle school. Anybody that had a CDL that was in the city of Tyler that hadn't evacuated got to drive a bus. And so I think I had the flautists of the Legacy band on the way there and back. And that was just a crazy night. That press box, they were kind of in the middle of redoing it. And so it was a wild. And then I drew the short straw and had the end zone camera, so I was not protected from the weather, and then had the world's largest video board behind me, and so it was quite the night. But Marshall's a cool place. Even that night with all the rain, it was a crazy atmosphere.
So what games stick out to you guys? Any of those games stick out, Jeremy? Which I know you'll be with me.
Yeah,
there at that. Was it Tatum and West Rusk? I mean, that could be
another. I think the Tatum one's, that's going to be a fun one. Again, I got to, jump in with Jaron quite a bit during the spring and call baseball. And, some of those guys obviously play both. And so that's going to be fun to see some familiar faces and names. And then again, getting a chance to do that out of West Rusk, what a crazy, we got to do that baseball game and broadcast it out live. And that was kind of an awesome thing. And, yeah, I mean, I think Palestine Marshall is probably the big one, and again, White House Paris, a good test for White House again, and their non-conference isn't going to be easy for them, and so, or non-district, I guess, and yeah, I mean, I think I think it's another stout week for us of just some really good teams to watch, and the Carlisle Brook Hill game will be fun, and so yeah, again, I think this is that you're going to have to go multicast here and have all your screens up or split it the best you can.
Professor, what do you think?
Last year, 7-5A surprised with Texarkana Texas High losing before they should have. But Marshall in week 2 of the playoffs beating Midlothian Heritage was a big surprise before they were dispatched in week 3. So Marshall is a team I kind of keep an eye on because we go through these ebbs and flows where sometimes, especially like, 4A Division II, East Texas, bEast Texas, as y'all call it, is what you got to go through. But 5A Division II, it's really the DFW area is what you got to go through. So Marshall being able to do that, being able to beat a powerhouse in Midlothian Heritage speaks very well to their ability to compete on the East Texas stage and the regional stage. So keeping an eye on Marshall, but man, you got Dangerfield in center. That is again a banger. That's our Rusev Seamus. You just want to watch it all night. Kind of a game, and the fact that y'all got it, that's a top game in the state, really. When you look at that game, so kudos to you for having that one, and it's going to be a fun one.
All right, next week we're going to move over to Thursday, September 25th. We have one game on the slate on that Thursday. It's Wolf City versus Timpson, and that'll be a Piney Woods game of the week that Larry will have. I'm interested to see how Timpson is. We of course they're just 2 years removed from a state championship. Of course, there's no Terry Bussey. We talked to Larry a little bit last week, and he thinks they've got some guys back that were injured last year that's going to help them. So I'm interested to see that. Brandon, what are you thinking about Timpson this year?
Because I know, like you said, Terry Bussey, he's been gone, and Bosque Howard, they were gone, but now JJ Gardner's gone now too. So I don't know much about them this year. I know zero about Wolf City. I couldn't tell you where the the Wolf City is. So I'll say that's a DFW because
It's DFW zone. It
Okay.
is in
Yeah,
Hunt,
it is-
Hunt-
it
Hunt
is
County.
Look
I don't
at
know.
that.
I couldn't tell you. I've never been anywhere near there, so I don't. So yeah, that's I guess. And where's that in Timpson?
Yes, it is in Timpson.
Sounds like a far trip because but
On
yeah,
Thursday night.
I couldn't tell you much about that game, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Timpson is because they've had that crop of athletes they've had these last few years is now gone completely. So it's time for the new guys to take their shine. So.
You got any info for Wolf City for us, Professor, since they're DFW zone?
They are DFW zone, but they've taken some hard times, Daddy, over the last couple of years. So it used to be the Wolf City and Celeste. You got to keep up with that area, and Wolf City was kind of on the trending up, but now Celeste is the team we're keeping an eye on in that area, a little bit north of Greenville. So I think Timpson, even without the cast of characters over there, should be a big favorite in that game.
Diggs, I know Celeste is the Blue Devils. Is Wolf City the Wolves?
They are the Wolves.
Okay, good. If not, I was going to be disappointed.
The Wolf City Tigers. All right, here we go.
Not too far from Honey Grove, kind of up in that kind of direction there.
I don't know where Honey Grove is either. I've never made that trek.
Yeah.
I try to stay away from anywhere near Oklahoma. So.
All right, we'll move on to Friday.
Fair, though, Wolf City did win their district last year, so I mean we can't. But they did graduate heavy, so I just can't completely. Tioga is the team in that district that we're keeping an eye on. So Wolf City is a good team, but Timpson is a powerhouse. It could if Wolf City's got a younger class that's stepping in to replace those kids that have graduated. I could be unexpectedly eating my words. I'm sure that this might be clipped and said, Diggs isn't giving Wolf City the respect. I get that they won their district. I'm going to give them their props. But regionally, when I think of big teams, I think a little bit more of Timpson, especially since Tioga's on the way up.
So what if Morgan is selling Timpson? Are you going to go with Timpson?
I don't trust a word he says anymore. Dang you, Morgan. Dang you.
Diggs, you mentioned Tioga. I don't know. I guess you said they're in Wolf City's district. I do know Tioga because I know their head coach, Zach Birdwell. So I know. I also don't know where Tioga is, but I keep up with them because of Coach Birdwell because I've known him from his days at Groveton when I was in Lufkin. So he's great. We tried to get him in East Texas a couple times. It just didn't work out. So.
Now, Wolf City, like you said, Diggs, won their district, and they're returning 9 on one side, 8 on the other side. So they're returning a lot from a starting side. So we'll see. They may have a good year.
All right. Friday, September 26th, we've got Brook Hill, Austin Regents, Big Sandy, Harleton, Carlisle versus Shelbyville, Center versus Madisonville, and Mount Pleasant versus White House. Those are the games for that Friday. I will be missing one.
Yeah, you missed our game.
Yeah, it's not there. I gotta figure out where that is. But the Chapel Hill Lindale game, I got to get on the schedule there. It's not even listed. So I don't know where it is, but it's going to be there. That's where I'll be. I was like, wait a second, where am I going to be? Because those games didn't sound familiar. I'm going to be in Lindale, Texas for that one. I see the other games. I think Brook Hill Regents will be interesting because Regents is always the top of the class in that district. So that'll be a good starting point for district play for the guard. Then you've got a Harleton team we just saw in a scrimmage the other night against Carlisle. They'll be playing Big Sandy, and in that district, we talked about it being open, and you gotta be on your game every week because all those teams are so grouped together. If you're not, you could, make yourself really, really out of the playoffs really soon if you lose a couple early. You got Mount Pleasant, White House. I think that's a important game for both teams in that district. I think those are two teams that we think could, be in that talking point for those 3rd and 4th spots, kind of what way we ranked them. And then Center Madisonville, that's always interesting. My ex-brother lives in Madisonville, so that's always an interesting one I kind of keep an eye on because they always have good athletes, and so does Center. So I think that could be a really fun game too as well. What do you guys think?
Well, that Chapel Hill Lindell game is going to be the one that really makes me either eat my words or wave the flag. I think because I think those two teams are the teams that are vying for second place in that district. So I think them going to head to head, I think it's going to be a really good test for both teams.
Brandon, what do you think?
Lindell Chapel Hill. That's Lindell's homecoming too. This year it's a month earlier. Normally their homecoming's near closer to Halloween. This year it's the last week of September, so that's going to be Lindell Chapel Hill's packed anyway, and it's homecoming. It's going to be a wild crowd. The two teams that you kind of expect to be battling for that second spot behind Kilgore, but they both also don't tell them that because they're going to have. They have district title aspirations, both those teams. They think they can challenge Kilgore, so they need to open district against each other with a win to have a chance to do that. And it's always a fun game every year. There's some years where Chapel Hill's loaded and nobody's going to beat them, and then Lindell beats them, and then there'll be a year where you think Lindell's, and so you never know how that game's going to go. And both great coaching staffs for both teams. Both teams, and both teams got their brother as their coordinator, one of their coordinators. So that's kind of cool. Both named Matt, brothers with Matt, that are their coordinators. So, and also, Coach Reardon, he coached at Chapel Hill, but he goes to church over in Lindale. So he has a lot of friends over there that'll be watching that game, and that they'll be rooting for Lindale, but they'll also be rooting for Coach Reardon. So, and I'm just excited to see Chapel Hill this year because Diggs earlier, they lost a lot. But they have a lot of good young talent. Malik G got good experience last year at quarterback. And
hey, Brandon, what was his name?
Huh? Malik G. Yes. Now he's making fun of me. He's taking another shot.
I was like, wait.
No. I was just asking. I was making sure that all of us knew the Chapel Hill quarterback's name. Now.
Well, yeah. Well, I didn't even know he played football until he got thrown in the fire last year. I'd known him as a basketball player. He's been starting for the basketball team for a few years. So I knew he was basketball. Well,
he was under the radar because his name was McGee, so he was under the radar and nobody knew who he was.
But he's a good basketball player too. So but no, that's always a fun game. I wish I could go to that game. I will be up in DFW again that night. I will be at Wilkerson Sanders Memorial Stadium in Rockwall for I get to go there twice this year, so that will be one of two trips up there. So.
All right, Jeremy.
Well, at least you get a pretty. Wilkerson Sanders does a pretty good job in the press box.
Yeah,
Coach Vermont.
Good barbecue up there. They give you
you get up there. That was a fun one to go to.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you're going to be with me in Palace or in Lindale. What are you expecting for that one? I mean, I know we talked a little bit about it, but.
Yeah, battle of the blues, right? You got blue and white versus blue and gold. Who's going to take home the blue trophy? No, I mean I'm excited for that one. I think that's going to be a fun game. I think for both teams it's a big game. I'm excited to get to see both of them in person. We've gotten to play. When I was at the middle school level, we got to play Lindale quite a bit for a few years in there. When Legacy was the only East Texas team in their district, we kind of had to pick up some different matchups, and so we spent a lot of time against White House and Lindale and Knack, and we play Lufkin, kind of some of those. And so familiar with the guys over at Lindale, and they do a good job over there. And again, Chapel Hill has been just humming along. And one of the guys I actually coach with at Hubbard is over at Chapel Hill. And so got some ties there. And I think it's going to be a great game there. And again, another just heavy slate that night. I mean,
he Coach Wright. Coach Wright.
Yeah, Coach Wright.
I ran into the other day, and we were talking about you.
He's a great guy, man. That guy was a go-getter and made me a better coach, and so it was a lot of fun to get to know him. And again, I think the Mount Pleasant White House will be a fun one too. And
I think that's an important one. That is really important in that district. Professor, you're nodding. What do you think that's going to be important as well?
It's definitely going to be important because when you play schematically, when you have an important game that early in the season, we're only in week 4, and we're talking about games that could knock you out of playoff positioning, could cost you, a playoff run. You have to be ready to go, and that's incumbent on those playoffs or on those coaching staffs to have them ready at a high level at that point. You just can't wait until week 9, week 10 to find your groove. You got to do it early, and when you have two games like that, when you got Lindale and Chapel Hill and that one, you have have to be ready. You can't for White House, you can't wait around and hope. And you're also dealing with injuries. I mean, Brandon talked about how one injury could just completely set off White House last year. And in that one game, you have that reversal of fortune. So you got to be healthy. You got to be ready to go. So can you stay healthy through the non-district schedule to be in district? And can you be at a high level week 1 of district? That's what we're going to find out in these 2 big games.
All right. Moving on. We're now in October 3rd. We talked about some rivalries earlier. One of the biggest ones, private schools around the year. We have Grace and Brook Hill. That will be in Bullard this year. Hooks versus Timpson. Beckville at Big Sandy. Chapel Hill at Palestine. And Kilgore at Henderson. And White House at Texas High. Some pretty big matchups there on the third. I'm going to be in Palestine for that Chapel Hill and Palestine game. And I've been there for the last couple of years this game has happened when we were doing the broadcast full time for Chapel Hill. And Palestine has tended to give Chapel Hill trouble in Palestine over the last several years. Even when they were competing for state titles, seemed like Palestine just always, the one year they beat them, Palestine just ran away with an unexpected win. And then the next year, I think that they played in Palestine, Chapel Hill didn't win, but Palestine gave them a lot of trouble. And so I think this is an important game for Coach Reardon and company. We'll see. They coming off the Lindale game. We'll see how that one goes. But Palestine, I think Brendan mentioned earlier, they're going to be a team that's fighting in this district for a spot. And so every game could be big, whether it's them knocking someone else out or them trying to get themselves in. But, I mean, this slate overall, Kilgore-Henderson, last year, Henderson with a big upset win over Kilgore kind of threw everything in the flux in that district. They started 3-0 in district play and then ended up not making the playoffs, losing their last 3. So that's going to be a big one for Coach Meeks there. I think, let's see, Jaron, is that what you're going to be at?
I'm excited for that game. Henderson's got great accommodations. It's a great place to call. Obviously, getting to see a team like Kilgore, a team of their ability is going to be fun. We've talked about Coach Meeks, his return to Henderson. I'm really looking forward to that week.
Brandon, what do you think of that slate there?
Yeah, and those two, the Kilgore Henderson and there was another one that Brook Hill Grace, the Holy War. That's always a fun one. Grace is going to be starting a freshman quarterback this year. They've been rolling these last few years under Coach Tim Russell, and I expect them to. It's going to be new. You got a freshman quarterback, so we'll see how he does. Slade Etheridge, I think they're high on him. And
that running back, Braden Alexander, he kick and roll.
And we talked about Brook Hill already, so that's just a fun rivalry. If you hadn't been to any of the Holy War games in Tyler area, no matter who it is, but Grace, Brook Hill, and Gorman All Saints, no matter the records, no matter who's playing, those are just fun games.
And Brendan, I think that most likely will be for a home playoff game between Grace and Brook Hill. Those two teams are picked 2 and 3 in that district. Right. Regents is the perennial favorite, so it's very possible that game, the winner gets a home playoff game, which we know how big that is with the travel discrepancies with TAPS. So, that just makes it that much bigger of a game. Jeremy, what are you thinking about these games?
Yeah, Grace Brook Hill, that's a fun one, right? That's one that, everybody, it's one of those things where they're so close to each other, right? And there's so many, it seems like intercrossings of people that have kids and friends at both places. I'm excited about that one. I think Kilgore Henderson's another fun one. I think that's, like you said, it's a big test for Coach Meeks. And, and then we're going to get to see Chapel Hill back to back. And then White House, man, they've got a tough one. Not only do you have to play Texas High, but you have to travel all the way to, might as well be Arkansas, right? And so, that's a long way to go. And I think the hardest part about those is if the night doesn't go the way you want, it's a longer way back home, right? And so those are the tough ones when you have a long travel. And, where I grew up in Kansas, our shortest travel was about an hour and our longest was about 3. And so, those long bus rides home after a loss are pretty rough. It's just kind of a somber attitude. And so that's going to be a tough game. That Texas I team is stout. And so it'll be a huge test for White House, like we said, to kick off their they're man. Whew.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been to a game at Grim Park where Texas High plays, but it is not a welcoming place for the visiting team. It's the visiting locker rooms are like, I mean, they make you you got to work for everything there between their fans and and there's no parking there. You're parking in somebody's yard and hope your tires are there when you get out.
No, Brandon, do you have experience with this?
Mine were there, but I mean, I have had to park in somebody's yard when I was there last year.
I was going to say, Brandon, if your tires disappearing, we got to talk about your car issues these last.
Especially if you're on the visit side, there's no park. It's just like it's kind of you park and hope for the best. And
well, it's about 6 miles up to that press box too, and it is one of the steepest climbs of stadiums that you can go to.
But once you get up there, they feed you amazing. The food is incredible.
So you just got to get to the press box, dude.
Yeah,
you got to get your hikers, kit out. You got to throw your lines up there.
But the good thing is, like, they got a restroom up there and they got food, so you don't have to go back down until the end of the game.
That's true.
Okay. All right, Professor, what do you think about the games in this one?
Well, I'm going to give a hot sports opinion. I have to duck out after this, but I think one of the biggest disappointments in bEast Texas, if you will, over the last few years has been Texas High. I think Dave Campbell's ranked them number 1 to start the season last year. I mean, they had some very high expectations, and they've been falling a little bit short. And again, this year, I think they're top 5 in the area. So this is where I feel like Coach Stanford, a Flower Mound Marcus former guy, so I got to cover him when he was covering in that district with Louisville ISD, he understands the importance of that reputation on him, and that he's going to have to make some statements, and keep his team up. So I think White House could be making that long bus ride back that Jeremy was talking about. Otherwise, I think it's going to speak a little bit scary to Texas High and their fortunes this year if they can't put a solid thumping on White House. So for our White House fans, it could be a long day. But at the same time, if White House, this is their chance to kind of prove themselves at this point in the schedule and show that they can compete and play playoff games. If you can play with Texas High, you can maybe go a round or 2 in the playoffs. So that will be something to keep an eye on. But yeah, Grimm Stadium is a special place, and it's a tough place. It's got that Jacksonville-like home field advantage for them. So I think it's going to be tough for the Fighting Wildcats.
All right. You out, Diggs?
I have to run. It's Tuesday night. You got crazy things going on Tuesday night with kids. So,
well, thanks for hopping in and joining us, and we look forward to having you on and throughout the season.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to thank the professor for joining us, and he may be out, but we've got a lot of weeks left, fellas. I mean, I feel like we're kind of getting there, that halfway point, and I feel like, man, this is going to be a heck of a season. I'm feeling really excited about this. The only bad part is I can't go to every game, but I can watch them all, so I can try to keep up with them as we're on other shows. So, all right, we're going to move on to Thursday, October 9th. We've got 2 games on the schedule for that Thursday. We've got Wills Point versus Quinlan Ford, and we've got Westwood versus Crockett. Now, these 2 games are kind of in the outskirts, I guess, of the East Texas area, but really looking forward to traveling down. I get to actually travel and hang out with Jaron and Jason that night, going down to Crockett to see Westwood play in person. I'm excited because, we know how good the Bryants are, and, everything that they've been doing the last couple of years. And now, of course, you've got both Bryants on the team together for the first time. You've got Case and Dial still there. I'm excited to see this high-powered Westwood offense in person. So, and that's where I'll be. Jaron, how excited are you to get to see the Westwood Panthers in person?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about that game. From what I understand, I'm not excited about making that's another real steep press box hike, I hear.
Hey, I'll be there to help you. Don't worry.
Okay, good. So, but yeah, I mean, getting to see the Westwood brothers, both of them on the field, is going to be a treat. And Crockett's a team that has a lot of history. I mean, they really do. Kind of a pedigreed program that's fallen on some hard times. So it's going to be a fun week. That's one of the ones I've circled, for the season, just getting to see that Westwood team.
Brandon, what do you think about those two games?
Yeah, that'll be good. But yeah, Westwood Crockett, like Jared said, Crockett's Crockett was one of our rival growing up. So we didn't have football, but we knew all their football guys because we played them in basketball and we'd watch them play football. And they were they were always awesome. They've had some ups and downs, recently, but they're so athletic. But Westwood, I talked to some people that were at the scrimmage the other night against Franklin, and Franklin's really good, and Westwood defensively, we don't know what Caden Bryant, the freshman, he may be their best defense player at safety, but he's also going to be a weapon on offense for his brother. And he's already big and fast as a freshman. He's 15 years old and just going to be a stud. But Kavian, he's going to put on a show all year this year. There's a reason he's the most coveted quarterback in the nation. And
he's only a junior.
He's only a junior, so enjoy him this next year and a half, and then see where he goes. So someone's going to get lucky and get a great young man and a great quarterback. He's because he's been up around it too. His dad's they got three good ones there, and there's a younger one too that's about to be a seventh grader named Kobe Bryant. So we'll be talking about him in a few years. Watch out for the Bryant brothers.
And we talk a lot about them, but Case and Dial, he's
Chris Carter. Chris Carter's a stud. So
yeah, so we talk a lot about the Bryant brothers, rightfully so. But
David Russell,
and I mentioned this in our small school preview show, but there's a new defensive coordinator, Coach Boone. He was at Elysian Fields and White House. I really like Coach Boone, and so I think he's going to have a great impact there for the Panthers.
Brandon, what about the Wills Point Quinlan Ford? You got any insight on those two teams?
Wills Point made they made some strides last year, and Coach Boxley does a good job there. I don't know anything much about Quinlan Ford, but I think Wills Point's gonna be pretty good this year. I think I mentioned this on the last show we were on, is they were at our photo shoot this year. They have some good looking kids they're the ones that the pictures they look how football players are supposed to look like.
Yeah, you mentioned because you said that's who Coach Hubbard was going to pick.
He'll pick them a lot this year just because they look like what football players are supposed to look like. So that sometimes that's half the battle. So
I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't always work out when you look.
I said sometimes it's half the battle, but
I know an occasion where it's not.
It helps.
Jeremy.
Yeah, I think, that Crockett trip is for us anyway, from here, that's a long way. I've made that trip a couple times down in that direction, and it feels like forever, and so, but that's going to be a good game, I think. And then, I know Coach Boxley a little bit from his time at Legacy, just a really good guy. And, he was a baseball guy there and moved over to Wills. And so that'll be an interesting test for them. And so, yeah, just a couple of good games again. And, kind of a little whet your appetite for what's going to come Friday night with the full slate we have there. And so, again, I feel like we're just, I think one of if you're a WWE fan, like Sheamus says, banger after banger after banger. I feel like we just keep rolling out another big, hey, guess what's this week? And, we just haven't disappointed yet. So I'm excited about what's to come.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking down through here too, and I'm like, man, this is going to be a good slate. We got a full slate here on October 10th on that Friday. You've got Hyde Park, Brook Hill. I was at that game last year in Austin. That'll be important for district seating. You got Elysian Fields, Big Sandy. We talked about that district being important. Cayuga and Carlisle, a game I called last year that was had a couple of highlights in that game, and a great one. St. Augustine and Joaquin, Carthage Center, Chapel Hill. Oh, this is what I have wrong here, guys. This is where I had the game. It's just on the wrong date, so that's what it is. I got Lindale and Palestine, and we got Jacksonville and White House. So there was that Chapel Hill game. It's just it got on the wrong date somehow. We'll have to fix that. But that's slate right there. That to me, I'm going to be at I believe the Lindale and Palestine game. Yeah, me and Jeremy will be back in Palestine. Man, I think we're going to be fed real well this year, Jeremy. I'm feeling pretty good about our press box selections there.
Yeah, well, you got the second time we'll see Lindale, and the third time we'll see Palestine. So I mean, we're gonna by that point we should have a pretty good idea what these guys look like.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a big game for Palestine. I mean, you got to think Palestine's got to steal one somewhere. You've got Kilgore, Chapel Hill, Lindale, and Pine Tree have kind of been the four in the top like were last year. So this is a chance for them to steal one. So I think this, could be a chance for them to get one at home. I know they always play well at home because I've seen them compete with Chapel Hill over the last few years. Jaron, let's see where you're going to be that night. You're going to be in Big Sandy.
Yeah,
That's an important game right there.
Yeah, so then that's what I was going to say. I am excited to see Coach Maines and the Jackets come over. Have some ties to Elysian Fields, or used to, at least. And so, obviously excited to be there with the Wildcats that night. But anytime you get to see a top athlete in our area, to the degree of Nunu Kennedy, that's going to be a great opportunity to see some talent there. But that's going to be a big game. I mean, we talked how that 3 and 4 spot in that district is really up in the air, so to speak, between Hawkins, HF, Big Sandy, Union Grove. And so I think it's going to be just a really important game. I think it's a good one that Big Sandy has at home. It's a good home game for them. And so I'm really excited about that. The Cayuga Carlisle game, that's just, I think, is a fun game every year, and it's going to be a really fun game.
It was a lot of fun last year. I went to Cayuga, Coach McGee out there. I really like him. I think they've got a really good program, and that was one of those games that Carlisle could have won last year. There were several that we covered that they were like back and forth. They were right there. I mean, they competed hard against Shelbyville. We covered them at home against Shelbyville. And I think those are the kind of games that Coach Baker can help them get over the hump and win. But I think that will be an important one, definitely in that district. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think kind of Cayuga, Carlisle, and Lindale Palestine, both those would be pretty good. And just another big game that night is the Chapel Hill Kilgore. I know you aren't doing it, but that's going to be just a big game that night. And Forney Longview that night too. But all those games sound really good, just good. And this is it's October, so this a lot of teams third district games, some teams district opener, depending on how big your district is. So they get really important at this time, and you better win or you're going to be home in November and December.
So. We talked about we didn't really mention it yet, but Carthage versus Center. Center hosts Carthage. I mean, Nick Brown gets his shot at Carthage first time. We'll see.
I don't know if he's excited about that. So.
He may not be, but you never know. Any given night, anybody can win. It is in Center.
No.
I mean,
no, any given night, anybody can't beat Carthage. I ain't buying that.
Well, hey, ask. What was it a couple of years ago? They thought they were going to win and they didn't. So I don't know. I think it'll be. I think for me, I don't think Center's going to win the game, honestly. But can they compete? Are they just going to let Carthage come into their house and just stomp?
Center is the one team that'll have the athletes to match up. Like that, the athletes that on paper they'll be the one team that has athletes they can at least throw out there.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. There'll be a different scheme. Coach Brown's bringing in a different offense, different things, and so it'll be new to Carthage to see that. So, you never know if they. I want to see how they compete against them. That'll tell me how Center's going to do this year.
Two other teams y'all will see. It sounds like y'all will see a lot this year that you were talking about other games, but they play this night. It's Texas High Marshall play that night too. So.
Ooh, yeah.
So that's a big. It's also my birthday that night, so I'll be in Royce City. But I got a long trip that night. But there's going to be a lot of good games. I'm gonna be in DFW. But I'm have my computer on a bunch of East Texas games that night because.
Hey, that's a nice stadium, though. I did a playoff game there. It's a pretty nice stadium.
Yeah, great stadium. Yeah, I like it.
All right. That is.
Oh, I was at that playoff game with you last year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Winsboro and somebody.
The Winsboro playoff game. Man.
Yeah.
All right. We've got the next week. We have a Thursday night game, which this would be a really good one. On October 16th, we've got Timpson at Shelbyville. In what could be a really good game there Thursday night. This district, we've talked about it several times of how tough this is. And we've between Garrison, Joaquin, Timpson, Shelbyville, any of those 4 teams I could see finishing in any of the 4 of the spots. And you've got St. Augustine, that wild card, kind of on the outside looking in. So all these games are going to be important. And so we'll see if Shelbyville, they've got a lot of guys back, but they don't have they don't have DJ Barnes back. So we'll be interested to see if they can replace that with the weapons they have. Should be a good one there. What do you guys think? Brandon, Timpson, Shelbyville.
Yeah, it's always a fun game. It was really fun last year when you had DJ Barnes and JJ Garner, because I feel like, I can't remember exactly, but I feel like they combined for like 800 something yards. And I just remember reading about it or seeing, they just went nuts. So, and then they did the same in basketball against each other too. I think they both had like 40. So they're both gone. But this is always a fun. It's a little semi. That whole area right there in Shelby County is they're all rivals. Shelbyville, Timpson, Tenaha, Joaquin, like St. Augustine. They all dislike each other, but they're all friends they're all friends in the summer. So yeah, that'll be a fun Thursday night game.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Let's go to the Friday night slate. We've got Arlington Grace Prep at Brook Hill. Got Crossroads at Carlisle, Mount Enterprise at Tenaha, Tatum at Gladewater, Troop at New Diana, Bullard at Center, White House at Nacogdoches. I think, let's see, I will be, at the Troop New Diana games where I'll be. Jeremy will be there. And that'll be interesting because we talked about Troop kind of the favorite in that district. Can New Diana with new head coach Kerry Lane be able to get Troop at home there? So I think that'll be a good matchup. Jaron, let's see. You're going to be in Gladewater. Back to the Tatum Eagles again. That's going to be a big game. I think that game is for 4th spot. I mean, just from outside looking in.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Brett, is that if you're Tatum and you're wanting to get in, this is going to be one of the games that you're really going to need to take. And so, but same could be said for Gladewater, right? And so again,
we did this game last year, right? In Tatum.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did. And I mean, that's one of those districts where, the top two seeds and really the top 3 are kind of taken by your more northeast schools there with Jefferson, Liberty, Allo, and Atlanta. And so this is, that 4th spot's huge. And so, I think it's going to be a good game for both teams, the Bears and the Eagles. And so it'll be a good one to be at.
Brendan, what do you think about these?
Yeah, Troop and New Diana is the one, even before you say anything, that was the one I had circled. I think that's going to be a good one. I saw Troop the other night. I like what I see from them. So this is going to be a fun one.
And that White House Nat game, that's a game where White House is, that's just one of those that you're going to want to really take advantage of. You should win that game, right?
Yeah, you don't want to go down to NAC and take an L. That'd be that if you go down and do that trip might be longer than the Texas High one.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Jeremy, what do you think about those games there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was looking. We're going to be at the I think it's a 3-way scrimmage this Thursday, but I think I'll be at the Brook Hill Troop and Alto scrimmage. So I'm excited to see Troop. I've heard a lot of good things about them, and I think again, we know what New Diana did under Coach Pitts, and I'm a huge Coach Pitts fan. I got to spend a lot of time with him when he was over at Legacy, and he pretty much was the guy that was at our campus every day, and and so that'll be interesting. And then again, I don't even know if we've mentioned it. Gladewater is going to be under new command. Coach Levere stepped away from there, and I knew Coach Levere really well as well. He was a Legacy guy at one point, a coordinator there, and so they're going to be under a new coach. And then again, that's big for both of those schools. Tatum, again, aspirations there, and I mean, I think you said it with White House. I was going to say the same thing. I think you got to win this game and win it pretty handily, and I think they can. A kid that played baseball for him that's kind of a utility guy for them is a kid named JoJo Adams. He played second base on the baseball team, and I think he did just about everything for him last year. He probably punted and place kicked when they needed him. He's got good hands. He runs well. He caught the ball. He ran the ball out of the backfield. He's kind of their athlete, kind of gadget guy, and so I think for them it'll be a good test, and you expect them to win that one, and So I think that's probably cheating to pick 3, but those 3 are going to be solid games to be at again.
I think that's the thing we're going to see here, and we've saw it already, is it's hard to pick just one game. There's so many good ones on the schedule. I know we hadn't talked about it, but another important game for Carlisle with Crossroads, another one of those games they need to win if they're wanting to get those playoff aspirations. Brook Hill is going to host Grace Prep. Now, this is the one game we didn't cover last year, so I didn't get to see the Grace Prep game. Interesting fact that you guys may not know, they don't have lights at their stadium, so they have to play all their games on Saturday, Arlington Grace Prep. So that was a Saturday.
Old school Wrigley Field right there.
Yeah, so they have to play all their home games on Saturday, which is kind of a weird thing. So we didn't actually cover that due to I'd already had commitments and we didn't have anybody else that could do it. But so that'll be an interesting one. That Brook Hill should win, but need to take care of business. Mount Enterprise Tenaha. Tenaha is a team that's been down, for the last few years there. Mount Enterprise, I think, should win that game, but it could be interesting in Tenaha. Brandon talked about that nice little atmosphere in Tenaha, so that will be interesting. All right. Anybody else got any thoughts on that week? We will then move on to Thursday, October 23rd, to Thursday football on NETSN will be Big Sandy traveling to Wascom in a matchup that I covered last year in Big Sandy. Wascom, a very impressive team, very high expectations there. And then also our other game on Thursday night, another game in that same district, we have Beckville at Hawkins. So 2 games there in that district, both important games really for both sides, because Beckville and Wascom are kind of your teams that we've got picked at the top. So they want to make sure they take care of business. And then on the other side, you got Hawkins and Big Sandy, who would love to steal a game from one of those guys that really help their playoff chances. Let's see. We got who's going to those. Let's see. Jaron, you're going to be out of town that week, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm going to be in the Windy City that weekend. So.
Vacation. What is that? What is
Ain't
that?
No vacation. It's a work trip. So
okay.
During football season.
Hey, Jaron, I have a feeling that Jaron's going to find his way to NETSN and be tuning in.
I'll be tuning in. There ain't no doubt.
So I'll be I'll be going to Hawkins for the Beckville Hawkins game. Me and Jeremy will be there, and then Keith will be with Jeremy Titsworth, making that trek to Wascom. Brandon, what do you think about those 2 games on that Thursday night?
Those supposed to be good ones. Wascom, I think Wascom could, it's been about 10 years ago where they, a little less than 10, right, about between 8 to 10 years ago where they were playing at Jerry World every year and won a state title. I think they have a chance this year. I think that I think they'll win that region and then see what happens in the semifinals and see. I think they have a chance to get to Arlington, and this is another game for them to showcase what they can do. Coach, they at Joaquin, Lawson, Wade Lawson, he does a great job there, just picking up where Whitney Keeling left off, and they had some stuff in the middle too, but same offense, similar offense. Wascom's always going to run. They're going to run you to death, and I think they're going to be really good. They got some talent, and the other one's going to be good too with Beckville and Hawkins, and the whole district plays that night because Ore City's at Legion Fields that night too. So that whole district's going to get it going on that Thursday night.
Jaron, what do you think about those games?
Yeah, I mean, those are 2 really big games for that district. And we're sounding like broken records, but again, the 3rd and 4th spots in that district, like you said, Brett, that if you're Big Sandy or you're Hawkins, you're going to need that game that you maybe weren't picked to win, but to win one to kind of separate you from the rest of the pack for that 3rd and 4th spot. And so I think that, maybe we'll see one of those that night, but that Wascom team, like you said, Brandon, is just and they're just so talented. They've been building that thing for the last few years. And then, of course, Coach Lawson coming over and kind of putting the cherry on top with that. But, we'll see what happens. But that'll be a good 2A night.
Jeremy, you're going to be with me for those games. What do you think about those 2 matchups?
Yeah, I mean, I think, man, it's I think if you're Wascom and and Beckville, you got to hold serve, right? You're expected to win. You're expected to finish some form of fashion of 1-2 in your district. This is that game that could potentially be a trap game. It's that weird part of the season where you kind of get some momentum going, and sometimes you get a little bit bigger than, you know what I mean? There's that moment where you can almost get somebody to slip in and catch you. And especially with, Beckville being on the road, I mean, that's a trap game in a way. And so, and again, no shade to Hawkins. I mean, they're predicted to finish third. They're no slouch, right? But I think that's a big spot for them if they can win that game to really solidify that third spot and keep, some of those other teams from knocking on that door and taking a spot away from them.
All right, moving over to Friday, we've got on October 24th, we've got Carlisle versus Frankston. We've got Tomball Christian versus Brook Hill, Center versus Brownsboro, West Rusk versus Troop, Shelbyville versus St. Augustine, and Hallsville versus White House. I mean, I just see a list of games, and I'm like, that's important. That one's important. Like, I see several here. Going down through Carlisle and Frankston, we talked about Carlisle trying to make a statement. Frankston's a team that's picked up there in the top 2 in the district. Getting a win at Frankston would be a statement. That would be a statement win for Coach Baker. So, that's an important game. Brook Hill and Tomball Christian. I actually went to this game last year. I can't remember who went with me, but we went down to so this is they're in a different classification. They're not private school, but they're like, they're homeschool or something. I think they may be similar to Tyler Heat, the homeschool type, but they don't have a home field, so they rent the stadium. We drove all the way down there, and we couldn't get in the press box because no one there worked there. And so we went all this way, and we sat there for probably an hour trying to get in. But they have a lot of talent. I was really impressed with them. It'll be interesting to see them traveling to Bullard this year to see if Brook Hill can try to get a win against them. Center take care of business in Brownsboro. West Rusk Troop, though, man, that game right there is always a big rivalry. Keith and Jason will have that one. That will be a big game in that district. Troop, again, we had them earlier against New Diana, but this one will be important as well because when Troop, West Rusk, and Art play each other, they're all big kind of rivals between the three of them. And so how rivalries go. I think anything can go. So that could be a big steal if West Rusk can go to Troop and get a win. They might be able to move themselves out of that 4th spot and try to creep up there. Shelbyville, St. Augustine, that's another rivalry game. That'll be a big important game. St. Augustine's looking to steal a game from somebody in that top 4. And then Hallsville, White House, a seeding game, basically. I mean, I think Hallsville's one of those teams that's competing and trying to get up into that top 4. It seems like they're always right there, but can they make that step and beat a White House team that was in the playoffs last year? So there's a lot of good games there. Brandon, what's you got some favorites? You got games you're looking for there in that group?
Yeah, there's a bunch of good ones. Like you said, Troop West Rusk. I think that'd be a good one. And Shelbyville, St. Augustine's always fun. White House, Hallsville, I consider them very similar because they're both right outside of, White House is right outside of Tyler. Hallsville is right outside of Longview. They're both really good at baseball. They're very, very similar makeups of those two schools, kind of how they operate. So that should be a good one. That's a very good slate. And like you said, this is 3 weeks left in the season. So, and the big one, I think that night could be, especially for Brownsboro, because you're in that district where you're those bottom districts. Yeah, you got Bullard, Brownsboro, Rush. Y'all got to beat each other but then you're not beating Carthage, probably not beating Athens. Center's that one where I think it was last year, a couple years ago, someone stole one from, one that you got to, if you can steal one there, that's where you can kind of solidify your spot and maybe not even sneak it at 4th, but maybe get up to 3rd. That's a big one for Brownsboro to where if they can go get Center. It's not going to be easy because Center is going to be athletic, but that's a big game.
Darren, what do you think?
Yeah, the one I'm kind of looking at for that week, I think it'll be a good one, is that Carlisle-Frankston game. That Frankston's got, they're just a really talented team. But again, I think this Carlisle team is going to surprise a lot of folks this year. And so, not that you can, turn a ship overnight, but as we've said earlier in the broadcast, that Coach Baker was, he's got some groundwork that he's laid, through the years, and be able to kind of continue some of that. And so I think that'll be a real interesting game. That you mentioned West Rusk and Troop again. Those teams kind of in that southern Henderson County area over there. Or not Henderson County, but right south of Henderson there.
You got digs in your head there with that Henderson County.
I know I did. But right south of Henderson there. But yeah, those teams just like to kind of be up on each other. So Coach Mata and the Raiders are going to have this game scheduled or circled, and we'll see what happens.
Jeremy?
Troops in Smith County.
Or troops in Smith County.
And Cherokee. And then West Rusk is in Rusk County.
Rusk County. There we go. Rusk County.
There.
The west
not
side
near
of
Rusk,
Rusk,
Texas,
yeah.
like
Not anywhere near. Yeah, that threw me the first time we went to West Rusk. I'm pulling it up on the GPS. I'm like, I thought it was west of Rusk, but it was. I was
And
way
the
off.
town is New London, so it does everything.
Yeah,
New London.
they don't help anybody out at all with any of that, right? It's kind of like the same thing with Carlisle, like it's in Price, Texas, but it's Carlisle. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the Carlisle Frankston. I mean, you got Indians versus Indians, right? You got a battle for the right mascot, and I think those are always fun when you match up with another team with the same mascot, and again, fairly similar color schemes, and I think that one's going to be a fun one. I think for White House, again, we talked about it's a big game for them to put the W. They should win that one, right? And so I think for them to continue to kind of build momentum and confidence, and so they get a chance to finish off well. I think they need that win big time, and those are the two I think that really stood out to me. And I think again the West Rusk Troop is going to be an awesome game too. And so I think it's the same thing we've said all along. There's a minimum, right, of all the games that we have are going to be good games, right? And so it's kind of a fun thing where you have to you kind of have to pull up the multi-screen and you have to flip back and forth. And again, we're going to have, I think, maybe we'll talk about it more later, but we're going to have the blessing of the NETSN ticker across the top. So when you are watching a game, you're going to get updates as those games change. And so I think that's going to be nice too for people that want to tune in, and maybe you switch over to a game you didn't know about and it's a tight game late, and you get a chance to do a multi-screen. So I think that's going to be an awesome feature we have this year too.
And if you're looking through the app and you're keeping up with the game score, if we do have the game on our network, there'll be a nice watch game button. You just hit the game right from the app. You scroll through. Ooh, that's a good game. It's close. Hit that watch game button and you just pop up and check the end of the game out. So, it's another nice hidden gem feature there in the app.
Yeah, Jeremy, and the only thing you said about same mascots going against each other, it's not fun for y'all calling the game and not fun for me writing a story about that game because you're kind of handcuffed because you can't use the mascot.
Yeah,
that is true. That does make it tough.
You got the blue and white Indians versus the
blue and gold
Indians, I guess. So that'll be a lot of fun though.
The home and away coloring will be very, very important that night, right? And even still, it'll be a little bit confusing.
Yeah, Carlisle should bring out the gold uniforms.
Yeah, that might be. Yeah, those are sharp.
All right, moving right along. We are in week 10 now. Friday, October 31st is the next slate of games here. Here we go. We got Hawkins, Big Sandy. Ooh, that's a rivalry right down the road from each other. We got Mildred, Carlisle. We talked about Mildred being picked to the top of the district at back-to-back weeks for Carlisle to kind of see where they stand. Tatum, White Oak. There's no love lost there in that one. You've got Brook Hill traveling to Dallas, Bishop Dunn. You've got Buffalo coming to West Rusk. And you've got Athens traveling to Center. And you've got Joaquin and Shelbyville. Man, there's a couple of those games that are really, really important. Just going back up to the top here, Hawkins, Big Sandy, obviously, like Jaron said a while ago, we said it numerous times, these teams are so close here. Every game in that district is huge, especially at a rivalry game right down the road. And then Mildred, Carlisle, Carlisle can get that win. That would be a huge one for them against a tough Mildred team. Tatum, White Oak, we haven't talked much about White Oak yet, but they're a team with some returning players. I mean, they could be a team that could if they don't make the playoffs, they could be a team that could really ruin somebody's day here. So, I mean, they come in and they beat a Tatum team who's trying to fight for a spot, and they could just be a play spoiler. I'm sure there's some players off that White Oak baseball team last year that would love to get some revenge against Tatum because
Mm-hmm.
they had 2 wins against Tatum in the bag, and Tatum walks off on them. And so I'm sure that there's a few of those players. I know at least one, the coach's son, that remembers that. And so that'll be a interesting battle there in White Oak. And then, of course, that Athens Center game, to me, guys, that's for second place in my books there in that district. And you don't want to be that third spot. You rather be 2. So that'll be a huge one there in center. And Joaquin Shelbyville. I mean, do you think Shelbyville's had this game circled for a little bit, fellas, after they won district last year and then let Joaquin knock them off, and Joaquin goes on that magical run in the playoffs. So that's going to be another just classic. Brandon, give me some info. What do you think about these games this week?
Those last 2 you mentioned are the ones that Athens and Center and Shelbyville and Joaquin. Your center guys are going to have some fun that week because those are two big ones and 2 fun ones. And then Buffalo and West Rusk being in the same district is just wild to me. It's a little closer drive than I thought. I mean, it's like 2 hours, but I thought like Buffalo, man, like they should not be in that district. It just doesn't make any sense that they're in that district because we just talked about how West Rusk, Troop, and Arp are like all right on top of each other.
Yeah.
You got Buffalo all the way across. Yeah, so but
yeah, that's where Jeremy and I will be. That'll be our second attempt at a stream there for West Rusk. And
West Rusk. So is it y'all's first game at West Rusk this year? Or?
We have 2 in West Rusk.
Okay. That's one of my favorite. That's another hidden gem stadium.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the original Friday Night Lights. So that because everybody used to do Wrigley games like Jeremy said, and but then West Rusk was the first ones that put on those lights and did the whole Friday Night Lights thing. So it's a cool stadium, and they just got a lot of tradition there, and you got a lot of cool things. You got the 37-yard line marked and different. Just Bruce Bradshaw Stadium. It's a great. You enjoy it.
Yeah, and then the honorary captain every year. Where they bring up a underclassman who wears 37. Yeah, it's just a really neat. I remember the first time I did a game there. Didn't really know a whole lot about the history and got to just learning and reading about it. And you're right. It's kind of another kind of hidden gem, kind of tucked back in the recesses of East Texas there, but a lot of history there.
Well, Brandon, I'm just glad that you mentioned Athens. So maybe you'll catch a little less heat next time we head that direction. For your sake, maybe it'll give you another free pass to come to Athens and not get in trouble.
Well, we'll get to more on that on week 11. I don't even know if y'all got their game on week 11, but I'm gonna mention them anyway on week 11 because.
I was worried you weren't going to say Athens. I was just going to I thought about sending a message like, don't forget to say Athens, but no, I think, Hawkins, Big Sandy is going to be a good one. Like you said, we've got Buffalo, West Rusk, but man, the Athens game is going to be a fun one. I think that's the one to, probably if I'm going to pick one and I, for sure wanted to not miss, I think that's probably the one. Just because of what's at stake there and what's at play. And, so I think that's going to be a huge one. And, this is that time of year where, we're projecting, months out right now, right? I mean, who knows what it's going to look like? I think that's the fun of this, right? Is we have a pretty good idea, but man, like you said, you never know, somebody gets hurt, something happens and it changes a season, right? And it can change the complexion of the whole team. And so it's fun to make these predictions and it's fun to see if we were right on the money or, how far off we were, but I think that's going to be a big game there. Is going to be a huge spot for that district and playoff seeding and home game and not. And so.
And I'm hoping, I did that Tatum White Oak game last year and it was a wet, sloppy mess. And of course for Tatum, they do a lot on the ground. So it wasn't that big of a deal, but White Oak was a team that liked to throw the ball and they didn't get to do that a whole lot last year. And so, for that game because it was the conditions. And so, it'd be a fun one to do.
And we didn't mention, but it's Halloween night, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens on Halloween night football games, right? That just adds a whole other layer.
That's true.
Who knows what everybody's going to show up looking like, and
somebody gonna bring out the orange jerseys or something.
Yeah, you never know.
But yeah, that's week 10, and finally, at least I guess we'll get to the I can't even talk tonight. Week 11 schedule. Man, this first one on a Thursday, guys. I'm looking at this one. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to drive down and hang out with Larry this night. Garrison at Joaquin. Another big game in that one. Week 11. I'd be willing to bet that there's a lot of playoff implications on, whether it be seeding, district championship. You could go from first to fourth. I mean, so much could be at stake in this game. This one's going to be a juicy one. What do you guys think about this matchup?
Yeah, Garrison Joaquin will be fun, and there won't be many passes thrown in that one.
No. There'll be a lot of running. It could be a Bragg versus Yarborough touchdown fest that night.
But there will be a lot of contact on the line of scrimmage. Let me tell you. I mean, that's going to be a lot of weight being thrown around and just a lot of good line play.
I was going to say that's the night you count the number of big hits, right? Like that's going to be the stat of the night, right? Like how many hits can you hear from the press box, and just two what we predict to be really good teams. Like you said, playoff implications. That's going to be a fun one.
All right, so we'll move up to Friday, this last week of the season. Brook Hill, Brentwood Christian. You've got Carlisle and Kearns. You've got Big Sandy, Union Grove, White House, Marshall, Timpson, St. Augustine, Glendale, and Henderson, and Center versus Rusk. Man, another great slate to close the season. I'm going to be in Henderson for that Lindale-Henderson game, which, last year that was a play-in game. That was whoever wins gets in last year. So we'll see if that's the case this year. See if Henderson, how they looked at late in the season. I think I get to see them. I think I'm getting them like in September, August, and November. So we'll kind of see how they progress, how Coach Meeks and his group do. So, but man, that's going to be, you got Timpson, St. Augustine. St. Augustine could have a chance to win that game and get in, depending on how things are in that district. You just don't know. White House, Marshall. Does White House have to beat Marshall to get in the playoffs there? It could be. Have to go to Marshall. Union Grove, Big Sandy, again in that district where everything's up in the air. Carlisle and Kearns. I think that. Carlisle. That's a team they probably need to beat to be in the mix for those third and fourth seeds, most likely. So, of course, Brook Hill will probably need to take care of business. Brentwood Christian, depending on how they do, but I think they're predicted out of the playoffs. So this is one they have to travel to Austin and take care of business in week 11. So, Brandon, what do you think about that last Friday night of the season there?
That's a good, and like you said, a lot of either playoff positioning or playoff spots. And I have, the team I covered, Legacy, they have a bye that week, so I kind of get to go to a different game. And you got some good ones. Like Lindale Henderson's going to be a really good one. White House Marshall's always fun. I did that last year in White House, and it was a good game, and it's going to be a good one again this year. The one y'all aren't doing, the game I will be at that night. It's funny that Jeremy brought it up a while ago. Is I'm doing Bullard in Athens, and it's at Athens, and so got the hard time in Athens that night on the baseball side. Well, and Coach Harrell texted me one time something about, you always come to our facilities for when other teams play, but never when Athens plays. and I've been some Athens basketball games when Athens is playing, but most of the time when I go, because they have nice facilities in Athens.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we go to Athens just for playoff games. But I was like, week 11, Bullard Athens. Tell them what Athens could be playing for, and then Bullard could also be playing for something too. So, and I got to see Bullard. They're not in a scrimmage, and I liked what I saw there. They got good young players. They got the young quarterback Micah Skaggs, and he's got a brother Gavin Skaggs, and then Athens got their dudes. And like you said, we'll see that y'all see them a lot this year. So I'm going to that game to end the season, and so I can say, hey, I went to an Athens game at Athens in the regular season. But yeah, and it's two teams I covered. But and then we already had Lindale Henderson covered and White House Marshall. So but yeah, y'all have some fun ones there, and like you said, you get the Carlisle games and all that. So yeah, it's a good that week 11 is great because we're just at that point we're trying to let's get to the playoffs and let's get on that road to Arlington. So,
Jaron?
Yeah, no, and for us, because we're starting to try to figure out playoff schedules and broadcast schedules. That last week, so we usually pay even more attention those last couple weeks, and as we've said, that there's several of those games that could really have some big implications, and so I think if particularly for some of these teams, if the season progresses like we think it might, then that could be a big week 11.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we talked about White House has got a pretty, they've got what we think will be a tough start going to Texas High, and then they've got to finish the season by going to Marshall. That's a pretty tough book in there. And, but again, it might be a chance, depending on what seeding looks like, it may be a game where Marshall doesn't need to win it necessarily. Maybe they, or maybe White House does. And it's just so many things that come up to play there. There's been years where a team's got a 1 seed locked up no matter what. They might rest a little bit of, some of their guys, or, you just don't know. But I think that'll be a good one. I think Lindale Henderson that we get to call will be a good one as well. And again, it could have implications for, and again, those kind of echo, right? I mean, it determines home and away, and, a lot of those things that tend to change your matchups, and, and depending on what your bye district looks like, you may shuffle around and you may change what you want as as the year shuffles on, as you see where the other teams fall. And so I think that's big. And then Carlisle and Kearns. And I mean, again, it's just a full slate of good games and lots of options to go to again. And again, I'm just excited to be a part of it. And I think I'm going to be around 16 games this year, and I'm excited for it. And I'm just going to be fun to see these. Again, you said, 79 different teams that we're going to get to view just in the regular season, and just a good chance for us to get to look at a lot of good players, a lot of young kids that are trying to make their way, and a lot of teams vying for big spots.
So Jaron, tell everyone at home how they can make sure they don't miss any of these games.
Yeah, so obviously download the app. You get notifications, and not just notifications of games we're broadcasting, but scores, right? And another plug is we need help filling those scores in. We kind of crowdsource the scores, and so if you're at a game that we don't have a crew at, then we definitely need your help. Filling those scores in, because that's how we kind of get information as we're broadcasting games. That app is free. You just go to the app store.
How much does it cost?
Free, free 99. So
you mean it doesn't cost anything?
Don't cost nothing. So yeah, no subscription or anything. So log on, go to your app store, get it, and then
my favorite part, Jaron, is too not just updating the score on your app, but like, back in the day, when I used to go to games and just watch, you'd have those people that, hey, keep me updated. You'd have to go like type in 18 times Chapel Hill 7, Lindale 0, first quarter. Like if you update the app, then you just share that. And then you can share it to whoever you want, whether it be Facebook, Twitter. You can text it to somebody, and it just shares it for you, and you don't have to type the score and all that in there. It just fills it in for you. So, I mean, it helps you share also with others. And then if they get the text, then it actually gives them a link to go to that scoreboard, and then they can see with it, they got it from this app. And you should get the app. So,
well, yeah. And so the other thing I want to mention is that, again, we'll have almost 100 games on our network. That's free to view. Right. And so, it doesn't cost. And so now we obviously need business sponsorship. So if you know somebody that wants to support high school athletics, reach out to us. But yeah, so it's going to be a great season. You went through that. I knew we had a lot of games. You and I have been talking about the schedule for a while, but when you sit down and kind of go through it, man, there's some bangers, as they say. So it's cool to hear Brandon's thoughts on them, and a lot of the same games will be some crossover. So, it's almost here, guys. Week 1's almost here. So,
yeah, it's going to be awesome. And then, of course, week 1 leads to our pick'em contest, which I've, looking at week 1, I've already got the 10 games up. I haven't, released those out yet. But man, there's some tough ones week 1, man. I'm gonna have to really think about these picks, because you get off to a bad start week 1, it makes for a long season. So we'll have that show next week, same time. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. every week. Next week, we'll just talk basically week 1 and our pick'ems and what we expect that week 1. And so, we'll have some of the same guys here. KO had the week off this week, so hopefully he'll be back with us next week. But man, the pick'em challenge, guys, is one of my favorite things. And it's another thing that's on our app. It's free. You just jump on there and make sure you get your picks in every week. I got to look into the locking of the games. Brandon brought up a good point earlier in the show about that. We'll see if we can work on that. But I'm excited for all these games and the fact that we get to cover these and get to highlight this many schools. It's just super awesome. Like, just looking back a few years ago, we were covering a few teams. And now we're pretty much, if you have a school that's your favorite here in East Texas, most likely we're covering you. And if we're not, or you want us to cover your team more, we're already looking for teams for our 2026 football season. So if you've got a team that you'd like us to cover that's in this East Texas area, and you've got businesses that want to support it, reach out to us, sales@netsn.live. We'd love to talk to you about that and see if we can work something out with you guys. Because like I said, we're looking to expand as many cities as we can. But like Jaron said, it does cost money. We don't charge the schools or you, the viewers, anything. And so we need that business support that can help us out. So, man, I'm just excited for the season, guys. And you guys, we'll just go around and give our final thoughts here as we kind of wrap up the show. Jaron, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a good year for East Texas, bEast Texas, as we say. I think there's from all the way from 2A on up that East Texas has a really good chance of making a good show, and I'm excited that we're going to get to be kind of have a front row seat to a lot of the great talent that our area has. So.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get my first football season under my belt officially as a broadcaster, and I'm looking forward to these games. And I think, again, it's I've been a part of football in this area, but mainly at the bigger school level, so it's going to be fun to get to do both. And again, a lot of good games, and I love the app. I love the free part of it. Right, that's easy. And again, we've said it, but we love local sports. We love these kids. We love to highlight what they do and the efforts they put in, and we also love to show the businesses that are behind the scenes sponsoring these kids at the same time. And so we get a chance to kind of marry those two things together with our broadcast. And so we'd love to have you. And again, reach out for that. But yeah, I'm excited for a great football season, and buckle up. It's going to be fast and furious.
Brandon?
Yeah, I'm ready for football season. I got to go to a couple scrimmages last week, and I got one in a couple nights Thursday night over in Corsicana, Legacy in Corsicana. So, and then it'll be a week away because like we said, we have a lot of Thursday games that first week and a lot of weeks, but especially that first early of the season, a lot of Thursday games. So it'll be here quick, and it'll be fun. I'm ready. I've been working away on stuff, and it won't stop until at least December. So.
Yeah, we had a few scrimmages last week. Again, we'll have a few this week. I think we'll have 3 at least on Thursday night, maybe another one. I'm not sure if the center guys are doing that scrimmage, but we'll have 3. We'll be over in White House for White House Gilmer. We'll be over in Big Sandy for Alba Golden, Tenaha, and Big Sandy, and then we'll be over in Troop for another 3-way scrimmage between Brook Hill, Alto, and Troop. So if you're interested in seeing any of those teams, I mean, I was surprised. We had some really good numbers on our scrimmages. I know our stuff is rough. We had some quirky issues here and there, but scrimmages for us are kind of like the same as the teams, and we're trying to work the kinks and bugs out. It's been a few months since we've done any streaming, so that's why we do it. We got some new guys with the expansion of more games, which means more crews, more people, and so we're trying to get everybody kind of tuned up. And so I'm excited to get out to do some games and this week and kind of knock the rust off, as you would say. But that's going to do it for tonight's episode for bEast from the East. For Jaron Peoples, Jeremy Diamond, Big Game Brandon Ogden, and for Professor Matt Diggs, thanks for tuning in and watching tonight. We'll catch you next week right here on bEast from the East. Good night, everybody.
The Northeast Texas Sports Network is dedicated on delivering the most entertaining sports broadcasts in East Texas. And if you're interested in having your next sporting event streamed live, visit us online at netsn.live.